Hey, what's up, people? We about to start another live for doing a coding challenge. This time I'm gonna do an easy problem from LeetCode.com. This is one I actually did last night, and I had a little bit of trouble with it, even though it's an easy one. So I thought I'd do it again live tonight and kind of work through it with people watching everything, answer questions, get some help, all that kind of stuff. Just practice these coding challenges a little bit more on here. So hope everybody's doing all right. I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes, let some people join if they're gonna join. I'm live across all different platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, or whatever you call it. I think I said Instagram, Twitch. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, YouTube too. So anywhere you want to watch me, you can switch to a different channel and watch me struggle through this coding challenge. So hopefully I'll be all right, though. I think it's a multi-step problem. It has multiple solutions, and so I'll probably go with at least the first thought solution first, and then maybe try to optimize it if I have time. And then if I have time later on, I'll probably answer just some general like Q&A, probably from TikTok, maybe from YouTube if there's enough people on there. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this problem. Oh, somebody said you can stream on LinkedIn too. Yeah, I don't know if I got this streaming platform called Restream. I don't know if it goes to LinkedIn, but it might go to LinkedIn too. I might need to start streaming there too. What's up, Walter from YouTube? What are you doing? I'm gonna be doing a coding challenge. This one's easy. It's called Sqrt or Sqrt. I don't know why it's Sqrt, Sqrt, or square root. I guess it's just short for square root. I'm stupid. But yeah, square root, I guess, is what it's short for. And it's like basically they want you to like complete this function, like square root function. So, but they want you to complete it with code without using any, like you can't use any built-in functions in the language as far as like, what does it say specifically? Like built-in exponent function or operator. So those are like, power and certain operators that help you with like exponents and stuff in language. But you can use other types of built-in functions, which is great. So yeah, I'm gonna do this square root one. Appreciate it, Mike on TikTok, hanging with me while I'm trying to figure out how to say that. So anyway, yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do the square root problem. This was an easy problem from LeetCode.com. It's called square root, Sqrt. Given a non-negative integer x, return the square root of x rounded down to the nearest integer. The returned integer should be non-negative as well. You must not use any built-in exponent function or operator. For example, do not use this power function in C++, or you can't use like the double star operator in Python. If you know those languages, you'll know what those different things mean. But in JavaScript, I basically just make sure I don't use any sort of like math function that doesn't, that uses like some sort of exponent operation that would like help me out with this problem. So like if you're in an interview, they don't want you to just use some sort of operator that will help you. They want you to actually answer the problem logically, because their goal is to try to learn, or try to see how you learn, see how you answer these problems, see how you think logically. So anyway, yeah, that's how the problem goes. And to kind of sum it up, basically what they're asking you to do is fill out this square root function, and basically they want you to return a rounded up square root of whatever x number they give you. So the example one here is x equals 4. I mean, we obviously know the square root of that is 2. And I mean, if you don't, you may not know what the square root is, but the square root of something is basically the number multiplied itself, that what gives you that number that you're currently looking at. Like, so whatever your target number is, the square root is whatever other number that you can find that when multiplied by itself, the square of that number equals the target number that you're looking for. So in this case, our target number is 4. The number that we would need to find would be 2, because 2 times 2 equals 4. But they say return the square root rounded down to the nearest integer, which is like the nearest whole number is what that means in programming, in non-programming terms. So like, for example, for 8 doesn't have like a clean square root like 4 does. It's like 2.82 blah 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 blah. So in that case, you would find the 2, but in that case they actually want you to round it down to just the lowest whole number, the next lowest whole number. So round down to the next whole number, just like they said. Since we rounded down to the nearest integer, 2 is returned. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, so there's constraints here. So if you're in an interview, they may give you these constraints, or you might have to ask them about the constraints. It just depends. But in this case, LeetCode.com gives you the constraints. Basically, it's saying X is the number that they give us, the input. And it's important to remember that this input can be anything within these constraints. So X can be 0 or equal to, or it can be greater than or equal to 0. And it has to be less than or equal to 2 to the 31st power minus 1, which is which basically gives the upper bounds. I mean, it's a high number, but it's not so crazy that it's going to overflow the integer data type in my language that I'm going to use, which is JavaScript. So that's the important thing about the upper bound and lower bounds. You just want to make sure that you're not going to have to handle an edge case where the number is too large for the data type that you're actually using, which in this case is an integer, and based on the language that you're using. So in this case, I know that my language can handle 2 to the 35th power, 2 to the 31st power minus 1, and I know, of course, it can handle 0. So anyway, yeah. So the way I like to do these problems, let me check on some comments since I just read the problem. Okay, somebody on Fingal Soda Pop, how are you doing? I'm doing good, man. I'm trying to do one of these LeetCode problems on here. Do you know someone called? No, I'm not gonna say that. Somebody on here saying some crazy stuff on YouTube. That's cool, but you say you are to go. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you. One person doing a meaningful live. Hats off. Appreciate it, man. I'm trying to do something that's at least helpful, man, to people. Doing these coding challenges and interviews is kind of tough. You know, the industry's starting to change where they may not ask as many of these questions, but for right now, man, they're still asking these questions a lot. So I'm getting on here. I'm practicing them for myself, practicing them in front of everybody, put a little pressure on me to kind of help me practice for interviews, and also hopefully helps other people watching this that are either experienced doing LeetCode coding challenges, or or trying to get into it. So let me check TikTok. Can you cheat? Just take the first element. 2 to the 31st power is 2 with 31 zeros behind it. That's a huge number. You might be right. That might overflow the line. I don't know. I don't know, man. What's the upper bounds in JavaScript? Max integer. Oh, so it's like 9. I don't even know what that is. The max integer in JavaScript is something crazy, but I don't know if that's oh, here it is. It's 2 to the 53rd power minus 1. So it's actually, this doesn't meet the upper bound. So I'm glad you did say something, because I actually didn't know what it was, but it's 2 to the 53rd. So we're good there. So it's what I said, but I should have known that, but I just, a lot of times in LeetCode, I kind of just assume that it's not going to pass the upper bounds. That's probably not a good assumption to make, but I just know I've seen this number before, and I just know it doesn't. I knew it wasn't high enough. I just didn't know what the exact number was, but I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. I see people on TikTok got a couple solutions, bit manipulation, must not use a built-in function or operator, exponent function or operator, which is important. So they'll let you use some built-in stuff, but you just can't use anything related to exponents. You'll never experience that in the industry. Yeah, these are leak code problems. So sometimes you can experience the concepts. Like you need to know how to optimize your algorithms. Like their bad algorithms can cost energy, time, money, wasteful, waste resources, cost more computing power. Like they can cause issues if you don't optimize your algorithms. But yeah, when you do a trivial problem like this on the job, no. So yeah, you're right in that sense. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So how I like to do these is when I'm in an interview, I like to think through the solution first, kind of think it out in my mind. How would I solve it just in my mind or on pen and paper? My old college teacher used to tell me used to teach us to take a pencil and paper out and actually write down the solution, or trace out the solution by hand. I'm not going to do that on the internet. I probably could pull up a whiteboard or something like that. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to talk through it. But with an interviewer, you might want to start typing down some scratch notes or whatever and kind of think about how you would do it. But in my case, how I'm thinking about this, we know what a square root is, right? We know that to find a square root of something, it's going to be whatever. You got to find the number that number times itself equals the number that you have. And in this case, we want to find the rounded down nearest integer that's rounded down from that number if that number is not a whole number. So how I'm thinking for 4, is that I know it's 4, and I know a square root of a number can never be higher than that number, because you can't multiply 5 times 5 is always going to be higher than 4, so it's not going to be 5. Now 4 times 4, it's not going to be 4, because 4 times 4 is going to be higher than 4, obviously. But could it be 3 times 3? Well, 3 times 3 is 9, so that's too high. That's higher than 4. Then you go down. Can it be 2 times 2? 2 times 2 equals 4, so we're good there. And let's go to example 8. So 8, if we take that same principle, this is just how I'm thinking about how I would solve in my head. You take that same principle, it's not going to be higher than 8. It's not going to be 8. So then you just kind of go down from there. Is it 7? No, it's not 7, because 7 times 7 is greater than 8. You go down to 6, then 6 times 6 is greater than 8. You go down to 5, 5 times 5, 25 is greater than 8. Go down to 4, 4 times 4 is 16, that's greater than 8. You go down to 3, that's 9, that's greater than 8. You go down to 2, that's 4, is less than 8. But if you go back up to 3, is 9 is greater than 8. So you're kind of on the teeter-totter of the answer. That the answer is somewhere between 2 and 3, because 2 times 2 yields a square that's lower than 8, and 3 times 3 yields a square that's higher than 8. So that the answer is going to be in between 2 and 3. And so obviously we got the answer here already, so we know it's between 2 and 3. But even without seeing that, I know that from just logically thinking through it. And so I know that if I just go down from this number and just find the number that is kind of on that teeter, either the number that's the square that's equal to the number that I'm looking for, or I find the one that is right before the square that goes above the number. So I'll find a square that's higher than the number, and then I find the next one down that's below it, and I know that I'm in between that range. And since it wants me to give the rounded down nearest integer, I can just go ahead and pick the one that's below it. The next one I find that is below the target number, that yields a square that's below the target number, if that makes sense. So when you think about that, I know how to do it in my head. Now I just need to take what's in my head and convert it to logic, to code, and try to solve the problem that way. So I hope that makes sense. So how I'm basically going to do it is, I'm thinking, should I start from 0 and go up? Or should I start from the number and then go down? That's what I don't know. No, I think I should start from 0 and go up, because here I would have to hit, like if I was looking for the square root of like 56 or 25, then I would have to literally go down, like to get to 5, I would have to go down 25 numbers, or not 25, but 20 numbers to get to the square root I'm looking for. So I actually want to start from 0 or 1 and then go up and check each one until I find one that's over it, and then go back to the one that is under it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to keep trying from one. Whenever I'm looking for a number, I'm going to try from 1 all the way up to this number until I find one that's higher, that its square equals to something higher than my target number, and then from there I'm going to backtrack 1 to my final answer. Unless I find something equal, it's like a perfect square, then I just stop there. So hope that makes sense. And let me say this, because I see a bunch of solutions jumping into the chat and everything. What I'm actually going to do is, this is the first thing I thought of to do. So there may be a better solution, but I'm going to, if I was in an interview scenario and I couldn't think of nothing better, I would actually just start with this solution. And this is when I first seen this problem ever in my life. This is the first solution I thought of. So we're going to start here, and then if we can find a way to optimize it, then we'll do that. So I'm gonna start here with this solution I just thought of in my head, and then we're gonna go from there. Because everybody's at different levels, of course, including myself. So I'm gonna change this to const. If you know JavaScript, that it's not really best practice to use a var for a function, just because of hoisting. In the JavaScript language, the var declaration keyword will just hoist whatever you're declaring up to the global scope, which can cause kind of like issues in your logic. It's just not best practice. It won't always cause issues, but it definitely can, because it'll hoist the scope, hoist it up to the global scope where you may not expect it to be. So anyway, it's better to use const, which will hoist it, but you can't like change it. So you can't like override it. It'll cause a runtime error, and it'll help you write better code, because you'll either change this to something that's scoped to where you want it, or you'll cause some kind of error if you try to override this function. And so that's what it's sort of trying to protect you from. So anyway, I'm gonna change this to const, and and then somebody's gonna comment about it. That's why I change it. That's really the real reason, because every time I do one of these on here and I leave this as var, like LeetCode had it, then somebody gonna comment and say change that. So anyway, Whittington said our middle name is Cunt. What's up, man? Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this. So what I said I was gonna do is I'm going to, I already forgot. So I go on these little tangents and stuff. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna just basically gonna start at 1, and I'm just gonna keep going up and I'm keep like multiplying that number that I'm starting with by itself, and seeing if I get a number greater than my target number. And if I get one greater then I'm gonna actually look at the last number as the root, as the square root, because I'm really just looking for the lowest rounded down whole number that I can find. So anyway, I'm just gonna do a loop that's gonna start at, should it start at 0? No, it should start at 1. Wait, can this be 0 though? I guess it could technically be 0. So I guess I could start at 0. Start at 0. I less than equal to x I plus plus. So I'm just gonna loop through. So like I said, I'm just gonna start from 0 and go up to the amount less than or equal to x, because there is a case where it could be x. So if x was 1, there actually is a case where I could be equal to x. So yeah, because 1 times 1 gives you 1. So I'm gonna have that here like that. So I'm just looping through, and then with x, I'm going to, what I want to do, am I showing it? Yeah. So, think about it. I'm gonna start from 0, and then I need to check what the square is. So I'm actually gonna create a variable called square, and square is I times I. So that's gonna be the square of the current number I'm on. And I want to check if the square is greater than or equal to the target, which was x. If it's greater than or equal to the target, then I want to go into this state, and I basically want to return. So if it's greater than or equal to, I either want to return if, let me see, if square is actually, see, now I can't spell. If square is equal to x, in that case it's a perfect square. So in that case I actually want to return I want to return what I'm currently at. If it's greater than, because right in here I just checked if it's greater than or equal to, so I know it's one or the other. So if it's greater than, and I'm actually going to do this in like an if statement so it looks a little better. I was going to use a ternary, but that don't look as clear while trying to explain it to people. So I'm going to say if square is actually equal to x, then I want to return I itself. Otherwise, it's greater than. So I can just say this case has to be where square is greater than x, because I know that I'm only getting in here if one of these two cases are true. It's greater than or equal to. So if it's equal to it, I'm going to return I. If it's greater than, then I'm actually going to return I minus 1, because I want to go backwards to, because if I got over it, like I said earlier, if I'm going to keep going through the numbers, and once I find one that's over it, then I know the last one was the last one under it. And so now I found the last one that was under the target. The square was under the target. That means the number multiplied by itself was under the target, and I want to find the last one if I go over. If I'm equal to, I just want to, return the one that I'm on. So there's kind of two states that I need to handle there. And then down here, just because in JavaScript I need to return something, I'm just going to return 0 down here. I don't think this actually ever gets hit though. And I could clean this up by using like a ternary, but I'm just going to leave it like that for right now. So yeah, so I'm looking at this. I'm going to start at 0. I have x. I need to find what the square root is and round it down to the nearest integer. I'm going to loop through, let's say, and some interviews, they may make you run through this manually, like yourself. They may not have a way to run the code. Some interviews, they do have a way to run the code. It just depends. But I've been in interviews where sometimes you're just writing the code in a notepad and they're not going to let you run the code. So you got to know how to do it yourself. So I'm going to do an example of 4, and I'm going to run through this myself. And what I do is I just keep track of all the variables, and then I just run through each line of code. So I know when I start here, my example 4 is going to be 4. So x is going to equal to 4. I is going to get set to 0 right here. So I'm going to set that there. Square is going to be I times I, which is 0. And then I'm going to ask right here, is x, is a square greater than or equal to x? No. So I'm going to go back to the start of my loop and increment. So this will get wiped out, and it's going to go to 1. 1 times 1 gives you 1 for the square here. Is square greater than or equal to 4? No. So I'm actually going to skip this whole section here and come back up to the top of the loop and increment it again to 2. And then 2 times 2 gives you 4 for here. Is 4 greater than or equal to x? Yes, it is, because 4 and a square and x is the same. Square is greater than or equal to x. Is square equal to x? Yes, square is equal to x. So return I, which is currently 2. And I would just break out of my whole function right here with an output or result. Oh no, what is it called over there? Output of 2. And we know from over here, for input 4, you get output 2. So my function, so I would have proven to the interviewer, at least for the case of x equals 4, my logic does track. Maybe I messed something up mentally, the interviewer might have caught it, but if the one thing about if you can't run the code, you actually, if the interview doesn't catch a mistake, you actually kind of can get away with some stuff. Like you could have some syntax errors that they don't catch or don't see, and you can kind of get away with stuff. But you know, it's pros and cons to not being able to run the code, of course. But it's one tiny advantage that you would get. So yeah, so got that. Now I'm gonna try one more case. I'm gonna try that 8 case where it's equal to 8. And oh, you know what? I wanted to do this. I'm sorry. I always forget to do this. For people that are joining, put the problem at the top of the screen. So hopefully y'all can see that. Yeah, because I know people are joining like midway and they're like, "What are you doing?" And yeah. So, and I already see a comment like, who does leak code in JavaScript? That's crazy. That, like, are you in the industry? Like, a lot of people do leak code in JavaScript, man. I don't get that question, man. Like, if you're a front end dev, you should be like, I don't know why it's crazy to do leak code in JavaScript. I know a lot of people use Python, but I feel like in my case, I want to show my interviewer that I have a strong command of the language I'm gonna be using every day if I'm doing like a front end interview. So I feel like a lot of front end devs should be using JavaScript. That's my opinion, but it's fine to use Python. Python's great for coding. It's probably better for coding interviews because syntactically it's a more humanly readable language. It's less verbose. It's easy to learn, easy to work with in coding interviews, but JavaScript ain't hard to work with in coding interviews at all. Like, it reads well too. And if I'm going for a job that's using mostly JavaScript or TypeScript, I'm gonna use JavaScript in the interview just to show that like I have a strong command of the language. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that I don't see it being a crazy thing to use JavaScript. I just don't. I get that every time I get on here, so I don't know. Maybe I'm the one tripping, and that's cool too. But I definitely, I did good on interviews with it, so I guess it worked for me. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna do 8 now. I appreciate that comment, by the way. I mean, I'm not giving nobody a hard time, but it's just funny. Anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna start with 8. 8 goes in here. It's gonna be 0, and I'm gonna skip all those cases until I get up to the case, because I already did this once. So until I get up to the case where, let's say when I get up to 2, or yeah, when I get up to 2, and then square equals 4, and it's still not greater. Square is still not greater than x, so I'm still gonna go to the top here. Just gonna get bumped to 3. Which is going to give me a new square of 9, which is going to put me over. So 9 squared is greater than or equal to x. So it's going to put me in here, but it's not equal to x. 9 is not, or square is not equal to x. 9 is not equal to 8. So I'm going to skip this case and I'm going to go to here where I'm actually going to return x, or I minus 1, where I equals 3. I'm actually going to return 2. So my output will be 2. And just like over here, I get the output 2 for 8. So I basically proven to the interviewer at that point that at least for inputs 4 and inputs 8, that my algorithm does give me the right answer. I never end up hitting here. Like, probably never hit, but like it's just good practice in JavaScript to always have some sort of return. But yeah, so yeah, that's look like it's working. That looks like it's working. So now, like, some interviews, they will let you run the code, and you can debug the code if you have bugs. You can check against test results with the interviewer. Like, it just depends on what kind of interview you're in, whether they let you do that or not. I'd say most probably let you run it, but I have been in interviews where it's just been a notepad and I had to explain it like I just did. So people ask why I do that. Like, it literally happens in interviews. And I think now that this AI thing is kicking up, for the companies that do still do interviews, they probably are going to start doing more of, like, you know, if they decide to just hold on to LeetCode type or coding challenge type questions. A lot of them are starting to give it up, but if they decide to hold on to them, more of them might start doing it like this, where they just open up a notepad and just like, hey man, can you actually code still? Because a lot of people are using AI. Why would they do that? I don't know. I feel like now with AI coming, like, you probably should just be letting the people, just giving them problems that use AI. But, you know, as far as I know, I just had a friend that interviewed for a big tech company, and they're still asking LeetCode questions as of like last month or the month before that. So it's not, it's not going yet. So anyway, I digress on that. I've been just kind of went on a tangent. But anyway, you can run the code on LeetCode.com. And what it's going to do is go against, just not opening, test case, all these 4 test cases that I put in here. The test case of 1, the test case of 8 that we did, the test case of 4 that we did, and the test case of 0 that we didn't do 1 or 0, but we did these two cases, case 2 and case 3 by hand. So I'm going to run it up here, see what I get. I might not actually pass. Oh, well, I thought I might not pass case 1 or 0. Yeah, case 1 or 0. So yeah, those still pass. Even when it's 0 and even when it's 1, they still pass. Passes when it's 8, passes when it's 4. So yeah, it looks like my test result, looks like my algorithm's working pretty well. At this point, the interviewer would probably ask me to talk about the time and space complexity of the solution. So time and space complexity, what that is a representation of is how does the algorithm perform as far as time, like number of operations and time spent running the algorithm, and space, which is the amount of runtime memory that's being utilized from the algorithm running. And this time and space complexity is in relation to the input that's being passed in. How does your algorithm perform when according to the input that's being passed in or relative to the input that's being passed in? So as the input increases, does your algorithm scale uniformly? Like, is it uniform scale? Like, does it do as many operations as what's being put in? Does it scale exponentially? Does it scale quadratically? Does it run is it like logarithmic? Like, does it actually run less as it keeps going? As more scale comes in, does it run less operations, or does it perform better? So it just depends on how well your algorithm runs, and that is a measure that is used as part of the interview process. And so a lot of people came in the comments. I didn't ignore you guys, but a lot of people came in the comments with other solutions and things. There may be a solution better than this one. And that's would be based on time and space complexity. So how we actually denote time and space complexity is called big O notation. And in this case, let's talk about the time complexity. So in this case, you have to look at, for time and space complexity, what is the size of your input. In this case, the size of my input is the number, just a simple primitive integer number that's being passed in. So in some cases it's 8, in some cases it's 4. I'm gonna erase all that. And so it just depends on whatever that is. So whatever this is, how does my algorithm perform when this number is really large, or in association or relative to that number, whether it's growing or shrinking or whatever the case is? How does my algorithm perform? Or how does my algorithm, what operations are being done in this algorithm that are in relation to the size of the input? And it's pretty simple here. because I have a loop here, and that loop is how long this loop runs or how many times it runs is at worst case based on X. And so at worst case, and I don't even know if you can get to that case because it's trying to find the square root. So I don't know how you even really get to that case. But that's at least how this loop is set up. And so the algorithm is going to stop eventually once it finds the square root. So I think, I don't know, this actually, time complexity actually might be more complicated than I'm thinking. Normally, I would say whenever you have a loop that is stopping at the size of your input, then typically you would put down a big O notation, what's called big O of n, or linear time complexity, where basically your algorithm is running linear to the size of your input. Like however many inputs you have, that's basically at scale how much your algorithm is running as far as time complexity. And so since I have this loop here, it is running these operations are running that many times in this loop with big O notation. And the other things you kind of would ask, like how do these things come into play? Well, none of these things are running multiple times based on the size of the input. Like this is running multiple times, but these things are just running once each time. And so basically this whole thing reduces down to whatever this is doing, because this is the part of the big O notation that's actually weighted the heaviest. And it basically at scale these operations get reduced down to just not even being worth denoting in the big O notation, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain. You kind of got to study big O notation. This isn't a big O notation live, but that's basically what that means. Like you have a lot of reductions that happen with big O notation, and you sort of have to take the heaviest weighted things that are happening in your algorithm, and that is what carries the heaviest weight, and other things are sort of reduced down to being nominal, because these 6 or 7 constant operations, if this number is like 1,000,000, this is going to run 1,000,000. This is going to loop this 1,000,000 times. It doesn't really matter as much how many constant operations I have in here. That's what those are called. It really doesn't matter, because it's nominal compared to how the impact of what increasing X will do for this loop, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of over explaining the big O notation thing, but I think it's big O of n. I don't know, maybe somebody else got some comments about how it'd be less. The only thing that I am sort of questioning is because this loop will always stop early, because you're gonna find the square of that X number pretty early. Like you'll never run through all of the X's. Like you'll always, like if the number is 64 and you start trying to count through 64, you're gonna stop at 8, at whatever the square root is. So I don't know, maybe it's like big O of the square root of n. So whatever X is, so it's called xn. So that I also didn't explain that, but n is in big O notation usually what you call the size of your input. In this case, it's pretty simple. The size of input is X, but I'm just changing it to n for the sake of big O notation. So this actually might be like big O of the square root of n or something like that. So whatever n is, it's gonna run whatever the square, not square of n, that's completely backwards, square root of n. I think that's actually what it probably is. So I don't know, man. Y'all tell me. I really honestly don't know. I think it's either big O of n or big O over the square root of n. So this would actually be less, because the square root of n is always going to be less than linear time. So, oh shoot, I did not mean to do that. But I'm not sure, for real. I'm really not. So I'm gonna put it like that, and I'm gonna see what LeetCode says actually. So the other one we have to talk about is space complexity. And in this case, space complexity, it's a similar concept as far as big O notation. It uses the same notation, but what it's measuring is the extra space that I'm utilizing as part of my algorithm that is growing or shrinking in relativity to the size of the input. In this case, I'm not using any extra data structures. Like, I'm not using any extra arrays. I'm not using any maps or dictionaries or anything like that. And so since I'm just using constant variables here, I'm not actually using any extra space. Like, this algorithm, every time this loops through, all these values here are basically sort of wiped away. I'm not storing anything extra. And so in this case, I'm actually just using what's called big O of 1 or constant space, which is great. That's actually really, it's the best you can really get as far as space complexity, which a lot of problems are big O of 1. Now when the problems get a little harder, some of the mediums, you actually start to trade space time complexity. In order to improve your time complexity, you actually start to use space and use data structures in order to help you improve the time complexity. And that's like a very common theme in coding challenges. But in this case, I already got a really good, like, linear time is already pretty good. And so yeah, that's what I would say this is. So last thing for this part is I can actually run this little submit button up here. I can run this against all the LeetCode submissions that other people have been doing. They actually run this against way more test cases. I think, like, I don't know, a lot more. And I can see what happens when I do that. So I'm gonna run that. And so they ran it through like 1,000 test cases and it got accepted. So said I beat 18% on runtime and 42. You take that with a grain of salt. Like, if I run it again, it'll give me like completely different numbers. But yes, I want to see what they say to run. So here you see they measure runtime and memory. So that's what I was just talking about. Runtime is time complexity. Memory is space complexity. Or not, it's not 1-to-1, but what they're saying is this is how long it took to run, and this is how much memory it used. But space and time complexity are how you basically describe the algorithm as it relates to the size, how in its performance as it relates to the size of the input. And these are just like raw values of those things, but those concepts are the same, if that makes sense. Probably butchered the way I was explaining that, but it's cool. So let's see what they say for that. Oh, so they just said big O of N. I don't know if that's right or not. This is like LeetCode's what you call it, AI driven time complexity checker. So they said big O of N, so I guess this is what I thought first for time complexity. And I'm actually not gonna run the space complexity because they only give me like 1 or 2 of these a day. I'm gonna save that one for later. I'm pretty sure space complexity is big O of 1. But I'm kind of not sure. Let me see what ChatGPT says about. I hope this don't pop up and give out my ChatGPT stuff. So I'm gonna ask this in ChatGPT if it'll ever do something. Oh, here it is. All right. So what I'm asking, I'm gonna pull this back over here. This is ChatGPT. I'm just asking it. Since I have the luxury to do that right now, I'm asking. Oh shoot, I screwed that up, but it should know. Yeah, so it says big O of X, which is big O of N. How I described it. Yeah, it says it runs from 0 to X in the worst case. It happens when X is not a perfect square and close to the upper bound of the loop. So I guess there are some cases where you actually can get close to the upper bound. And I guess that's the case of like 1, and maybe there's some other decimal values. I don't know. It don't feel like you really get to the case of 1. So, yeah. Anyway, I know that's kind of small to read, but yeah. So I think an interviewer probably would take. Let me think about it. Interviewer probably would be okay with big O of N, since that's what it's seeming to say on LeetCode. That's what it's seeming to say on ChatGPT. I've checked multiple sources. It keeps saying that, but they might entertain the conversation of saying it's like some lower amount. I don't know, but for now I'm gonna erase that. Yeah. So yeah, this is this is it for that one. So the other thing, something popped up over here when I was looking at the ChatGPT. If you see here, it says, if you want, I can rewrite this function to achieve big O of log x time using binary search. That will be much faster for large inputs. And so what that basically is saying is, and I didn't want to see it like that, I want to talk about it a different way. But like if you get an interview and you do this solution, this is actually is considered, I'm gonna actually call this, I'm gonna rename this brute force my Sqrt or whatever. Because this is what's called a brute force solution. And it's actually got really good time complexity compared to a lot of other coding challenge problems. But it's not a very, as far as this problem goes, it's not the best solution for this type of problem, for this particular problem. So basically, you may be in an interview scenario and the interview may say, can you find a better way to do this? That's kind of like the scary thing that they may ask sometime, like, you know, this solution's good, but can you find a way to do this more optimally after you've talked about this time complexity? If you got it right, you know, if you screwed that up, then they may not even ask, or they may help you and then ask you again. I don't know, but it just depends on the interview, I guess, or if you have time. But if you have time, they may ask you, like, can you optimize this algorithm to get better time complexity? And in this case, we can by using something called binary search. So we can keep a similar solution of like checking, like waiting and like checking on both sides of our target to see where the actual square root is. Like if we found out something higher than it, then we just take the number that's actually yielded a square root that was below it. We can use that same principle, but since in the first solution it said it was linear and we had to keep using this loop to search through every single number to find our square root, what we actually can do to find it faster instead of doing this loop is we actually can use a binary search. And how that works is what we can do is we can look at the range like we are here. We're looking at a range here between 0 and x, but we're just trying every single number one by one till we find what we need. With binary search, you can look at the range and then you can look at the center of the range and then you can check if the center is lower than or higher than the square root that we're looking for. And when we take the center, we need to take the square of that. We need to multiply it by itself, of course. But then we need to check if that number is higher than or lower than, just like we did in this logic here, whether it's higher than or lower than or equal to the target number that we're looking for. Now, if it's higher than that number, then with binary search, what you can actually do is close the search window in and then take the middle and do the same search again, saying is it higher than or lower than. And binary search is just something you just have to study during your coding challenge, learning journey. It's not something that you're just gonna come up with in the top of your mind. That's why I'm just bringing it up out of thin air, because it's just not something you would just come up with as a non-programmer or whatever, or just somebody that's first getting into this. Binary search is like a strategy that was, or a search algorithm that was created by some guy, or some people, smart people, a long time ago. And it's something that you would learn in college, or something you would learn while you're doing studying data structures and algorithms, something you would learn while you're just doing these problems blindly or whatever, maybe while looking at solutions. But yeah, binary search is a technique that you should have memorized on your journey. And so you don't want to memorize a bunch of problem answers, a bunch of solutions, but you want to memorize data structures and algorithms that you can use to tackle multiple types of problems. And this problem, it lends itself to using binary search in order to speed up this search that I'm doing for the square. Because right now I'm just looking at every single number till I find the square, and then I'm pulling out. But what I can actually do is reduce. I can cut my search literally like not even in half, but like maybe in half. I think I could. Basically I can cut it in half every time I search. So every time I search, I search the whole window first, split it in half, figure out if it's on the left or the right, or if I got my answer. If I don't got my answer, then I either look to the left or I look to the right, depending on where my answer is in relation to the thing that I'm looking for. And then I cut it in half, and then I cut that in half and look at that and see where that's at. And if I still don't find it, I cut that in half and look where that's at. And that's what a binary search is doing. It's actually cutting your search, the width of your search in half every iteration. And that yields better performance than searching one by one. It's similar to like if there's a needle in a haystack, right? You're looking for a needle in a haystack, and you know it's in the stack somewhere, but I don't know, this might not be a good analogy, but you know it's in the stack somewhere, so you split the stack in half. Nah, that's not a good analogy, because you wouldn't know how to figure out which stack that the needle was still in. You'd have to have some sort of way. I don't know, somebody got a good analogy for binary search? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good analogy for it where you actually would know. Yeah, it's kind of tough to, without actually having like some numbers that you just weren't looking at, because it's a programmatic thing where it's not a human looking for a number. It's a program looking for a number within a list that you don't know. So yeah, I don't know, but that's what a binary search does. So that's what we're going to try to do here now. And so I renamed this to brute force. I'm actually going to create another function above here, and I'm going to rename that one back to the original function. And I'm going to do the binary search in here. So like I said, binary search is an algorithm that you would have wanted to memorize. And I just know how binary search works. And like I said, we're going to look at a window. And so what I'm first going to do is create a left side of the window, which is going to start at 0. Just like down here, we started at 0. And I'm going to create a right side of the window, which is going to start at X, which is going to end at X basically. That's going to be, so it's going to open a window, to a search window between 0 and X, similar to how I did here, but I was just looping through everything and I just kept checking that way. And so I'm actually going to use a while loop this time, and I'm going to say while left is less than or equal to right, because I'm going to start closing the window in. And once I get to the end, when both left and right are the same, or they somehow cross over each other, then I'm done. Like I don't need to keep looking after that. But until that point, I want to keep looking. And so while left or right, and then down here, I'm just going to still put return 0 until I have something better to do for that. But probably not. Probably just be the same thing as down here. Probably never hit that, because I'm going to try to exit out of this while loop when I find what I need. And so here, while left is less than or equal to right, I'm going to keep looping. And then what I said with binary search, what you want to do is you want to find the middle number in your search window, and then you want to do some operation on that. And so what I'm actually going to make is a const called mid. And how you find the middle, like how do you find the middle between a range of numbers? Like how do you find the middle between, programmatically, not in your head, but programmatically between 0 and 10, let's say. Well, what you can do is you can say, you can take the right side and subtract the left side, and then divide that by 2. So that would give you that would give you, so like let's say if you were looking for the middle point of 5 and 10, then 5 minus 10 will give you 5, divided by 2 will give you 2.5. And then you have to add, I think you have to add the left side back to it to get the middle. So yeah, right. So yeah, if it's 15 minus, so what's the middle? The middle between 15 and 5 would be 10. So then 15 minus 5 would give me 10, divided by 2 would give me 5, plus 5 would give me 10. Yeah, so then that would give me 10. So the problem, yeah, I messed it up. But the problem is sometimes this divided by 2 will give you a decimal. You know, like if it's an odd number, it'll give you like let's say you got 7, it will give you like 2.5. And so what you actually need to do is take the floor of that, and that's how you would do, oh shoot, I think it'd be like, not like that, it'd be like this. So you actually would take the floor. So if you got a decimal, I'm actually just gonna take the I'm gonna take the lower bounds of that just to make sure I get a solid, you know, whole integer middle number to check on. And so this is something you would learn in a binary search. Like you actually can do it a different way. I think you can do like right plus left. Can you do right plus left divided by 2? There's some other way you can do this, but this is one way you can do it as well. Maybe some of y'all know how to do it. Yeah, right plus, yeah, somebody said right plus left divided by 2. So you can do that too. But this is the way I like to, I don't know, in my mind, I like to do it the way I think, and right minus left divided by 2 plus left just gives me the right answer in my own head without having to like just memorize it even. So yeah, so that give me the middle point. And then what did I say I want to do when I got the middle point of my search range? When I get the middle point of my search range, I actually want to do the same thing when I found the square here. I want to check whether the square is greater than or equal to x, or if it's equal to x, or yeah, whether it's greater than or equal to x. And in that case, I actually want to return that number because I've already found the floor of it already, so I'm fine there. So in that case, I want to just return that number every time. I don't think I want to actually do like this x minus 1 thing. So I actually want to check if mid times mid, which is the square, is I think I want to check if it's greater than or equal to x. If it's greater than or equal to x, or let me think about that. So if it's greater than, so I want to check if, yeah, so basically here I actually want to check if this is lower than or equal to x, and the next one, I want to check on the next one. So I want to check, this is going to seem kind of weird, but I'm going to explain what I'm doing in a second. So I actually want to check, that I have found the number that is the greatest number that has a square that isn't above the target number. And so I want to find the number that when I multiply together and find its square, it's still less than or equal to x. But when I add 1 to it and multiply it by each other, then it's actually greater than x. And so this is kind of getting kind of small. Zoom out a little bit. I'm gonna stay zoomed in because I know it's hard for y'all to see. But yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how I can shorten this up maybe so you can see what's going on. Yeah, so I'm gonna just drop this down the line so you can kind of see. And I'm gonna pull this back. Yeah, so I'm basically saying I want to find the middle number. I want to check if this middle number, the square of it, which is mid times mid, is it less than or equal to x? And if I add 1 to the middle number, like the next number, just by adding 1 to it, if this multiplied by this is greater than x, so this one was less than and greater than, so that would mean that this one is the actual square root, because it's the number before the number in mid plus 1 that actually goes over. So just like we was doing here, once we find the one that goes over, we go back 1. Well, here, once we find the one that's right, we find that by checking that the next one is higher, whether it's higher or not. And that's how we know we got the right one. And if we got the right one, then we can just return mid, because now we know we got the right one. But what if we don't have the right one? So in that case, we're going to go into else, and we're going to actually, a binary search, you actually need to check, I need to check if the multiplier, or the square, when I multiply these together, here I said it's less than or equal to. If it's actually greater than x, then I know I'm too far. My search is still too far on the higher than the square root that I'm actually looking for. So I actually need to then change my bounds. I'm going to change right to equal mid. So then now I'm going to like cut my search area in half, because I know that mid times mid is way too high. Like, or it's higher than x. I know it's higher than x, so I know I'm too high. So by changing the right bounds to mid, then I'm basically cutting my search area in half, and I'm only going to search this side now. And I know in the case that it's less than, but it's not, not either of these cases, then that it's not actually, like, if it's less than but it's not close enough, like where the next number is higher than, then I know I'm still too far left, if that makes sense. And so that's just a simple else to change left to mid, where I actually cut off the left side, and I go that way. I go like, it's backwards on your camera, but it makes sense to me. So anyway, yeah, so then I would check out. So this is basically a binary search. It's like how you close the window on a binary search, and you cut it in half each time. So every time this loops, if I don't, like here I've actually found my number, but in cases where I don't find it, I'm either going to cut the right side off, or I'm going to cut the left side off, and I'm going to cut my window in half. And that's how you're actually cutting your search in half. And I'm not checking every single number. I'm just checking the middle numbers I find until I finally find, so I shorten the window enough to where I find the one that I want. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And yeah, I think this looks right, because then I'll eventually cut it so far that I'll get to my answer here. And so yeah, I think this is looking good to me. And so, like I did earlier, I'm going to try to do it by hand to validate that my code. Because one thing the interviewer might ask you, just to go, he might not ask you, or they may not ask you. You may need to go through and just check that every line is how you expect. Like I'm going 0 through x, left to right. I'm doing my mid. I think this mid is right. Right minus left divided by 2. And the floor of that plus left, I think, gives me the mid that I want. And then is the square less than or equal to x, and the square plus 1, or the square of the middle number plus 1 is greater than, then I know I'm in the right spot and I found my mid. If not, if the square is greater than x, then I know I'm too far right, so I need to cut right to the mid. Otherwise, I'm too far left, and I cut left to the mid. So I think that code is right. I'm gonna try 4. This is gonna be a lot of variables, but I'm gonna try to go through this quick because I already been on here for a while. Yeah, let's try this. Yeah, left, right. And yeah, I'm sorry I'm missing. This junk is hard to do. I'm sorry if I'm missing comments, man. I appreciate y'all watching. Keeping up with it. Left, right. And so what I do is just keep a track of all my variables. And this wouldn't be that yet. Yeah, so all I got is mid, left, right. I just keep track of every variable so I can see what's going on. So yeah, I'm going to start with x equal 4. I'm going to get to this line. It's going to set left to 0. I'm going to get to this line. It's going to set right to 4 because it's going to set right to x. Is left less than right? Yeah, because left is 0. Middle is right minus left. That's 4. That's 4 minus 0 divided by 2. 4 minus 0 is 4 divided by 2 gives you 2. And then plus left plus 0. So that actually would give me a midpoint of 2. So that's 2. And then I would say it's 2 times 2, which is 4, less than or equal to x. Well, yeah, that's 4. It is x is 4. It is less than or equal to x. And is mid plus 1, which is 2 plus 1. It gives you 3. Is 3 times 3 greater than x. 3 times 3 is 9. That is greater than 4. That is greater than x. So I know I'm in my right spot, and I'm going to return mid, which is 2, which is output, gives me an output of 2, which in this case, yeah, x equals 4 should give you an output of 2. So yeah, I've traced my code manually, at least for that number, it's working. I'm going to try to do 8, man. I'm going to try to do it. Maybe I'll do 6. 6 seems like it may be. Because what the square root of 6 would be. So yeah, the square root. 3 times 3 would give you 9. 2 times 2 would give you 4, which is in between. So square root of 6 got to be somewhere between 2 and 3. Right? Yeah, it's got to be somewhere between 2 and 3. Hey, man, I'm a programmer, man, but don't mean we got to be good at math. So what's the square root of 6? I think it's between 2 and 3, like 2 point something. 6. Yeah, it's like 2.444 something. So, cause I just wanna I'm doing it for the, like, I already should know the answer to that. So it's not that I'm like cheating or something. So yeah, so 6. So yeah, I'm gonna do 6, and I'm gonna erase all this. I'm only trying to do 6 instead of 8 because I'm not trying to do this. I'm not trying to bore y'all with this. I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible. So left will set to 0 on this line. X will be 6 because it'll set right to 6. I mean, and then yep, this is gonna be true because left is less than or equal to right. So now I need to take right minus left will give you 6 divided by 2 gives you 3. Floor would still be 3 plus left plus 0 will give you 3. So the middle would be 3. And I would get here. Okay, so yeah, that will give you 3. So then 3 times 3 equals 9, which is not less than or equal to x, which is 6. So I'm already too high. So then I would come here because this condition fails, so I don't even have to check this other condition. So I would get here and I would say 3 times 3, which is 9, is it greater than x? Yes, it is. 9 is greater than x, which is 6. So that would change right to whatever mid is. I would update whatever the value of right is to whatever the value of mid is. But mid is 3, so I'm going to update right to 3. So I've already cut my search window of left and right from 0 to 6. I've cut it in half from 0 to 3. That's how binary search works. It basically is cutting the search window in half every time I loop. And here I'm done with the loop, so I'm actually coming back to the loop. So like I said, every time I loop, I'm cutting the search window in half. and it erases this because this just gets lost, gets erased or whatever in memory from looping this. So now I'm here again. Is left still less than right? Yeah, it's 0 is still less than 3. Get here. Right minus left is 3 minus 0. Give 3 divided by 2 gives you 1.5. The floor of 1.5 is 1 plus left, which is 0. So I'm actually going to get 1 for mid in this case. And I get 1 for mid in that case. And 1 times 1 is 1. Is it less than or equal to x? Yes. Is 1 plus 1, 2 times 2 greater than x? 2 times 2 is 4. It's not greater than x. So I don't return mid. I get here. Is 1 times 1 greater than x? No. So I'm actually going to get down here where I'm going to turn left to mid. So I'm actually going to turn left to mid. So whatever left is going to get turned to 1. So left, so I'm moving in my window again to 1 here, and I'm going to take away mid, and I'm going to start my loop over again. Left is still greater than right. Mid, 3 minus 1 gives you 2. Divided by 2 gives you 1 plus 1 gives you 2. So mid is 2. So yeah, I mean, obviously the middle between 1 and 3 is going to give you 2. So now I'm starting to get to my answer. 2 times 2 equals 4. Is that less than or equal to x? Yes, it's less than or equal to 6. Is 2 plus 1, 3 times 3 greater than x? Yes, 3 times 3 is 9. That is greater than x. So I actually get into this, my final case, which wants me to return 2 as the output. Return mid. Output is 2. And like I said earlier, the output is dang, I just looked into that light, it blinded me. The output of the square root of 6 is like 2.4 something something something, which reduces down to 2. Not reduces down, but rounds down, like they want me to do in this problem here, like round down to the nearest integer. So that code is working, just running it manually. So I'm gonna get rid of all that stuff. I appreciate y'all hanging in there with me while I did that. And so yeah, this looks good, man. Looks like it's working. And so now I've done it manually. I might be done with the interview at this point if they don't allow me to run the code. If the interviewer agrees that my code is working like I say it is, then I'll be done with the I'll be done with it. And somebody in TikTok said this is not an easy problem. I don't think it's an easy problem either. I think the brute force solution is easy, but like binary search for somebody that's just getting started, it's not really that easy. I mean, I guess it's all relative, man. If you start doing these a long time, it may get easy to you, but just because something has gotten easy to you doesn't mean that it's necessarily easy. Like people can't just come off the street and do binary search. Like, and programmers that just started, they can't just come off the street and do it. And so I wouldn't necessarily call this easy because it does have a optimal or non-optimal and optimal solution. But I don't know. I guess compared to all the other possible lead code questions, I guess it probably does fit into it easy when you compare it to how hard some of them can get. So I don't know. I guess they just ranked it wherever they wanted to rank it. But I could see the argument for this not being easy. But anyway, I'm gonna run this against the test cases at the bottom. I might actually not pass them this time because, yeah, it's running too long. So I messed up one case here, I think. The one test case ran too long. So now it's time for some debugging to figure out what I had wrong. So it said that, or where did it say? Yeah, time when x was 1, the time was too long. So when x equals 1, what am I doing wrong? Can I not start this at 0? X is less than or equal. Okay, so if this is 1, something is happening with the 1. Let's see. If x is equal to, does anybody know what's wrong with this so far? I don't think so. Well, I'm gonna try to figure it out then. So, well, let's just trace it then. So x is equal to 1. I come in here. This is 0. This is 1. Then the difference between 1 and 0 gives you 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, gives you 0 floor, plus left will give you 0. 0 times 0. So yeah, I think you just get stuck in here. 0 times 0, or just 0 times 0 is less than, yeah, it's less than, and then 1 plus 1. 1 times 1 is greater than, no. So then 0 times 0 is greater than x. 0 times 0 is greater than x, no. So then you turn left to mid, which in this case mid is 0. So yeah, so you just keep turning left into 0. So somewhere in here that I'm messing up my case for for 1. And that means, okay, that's still right. I think I'm finding the middle one is still right. And mid times mid is less than. I feel like I ran into this before. It's somewhere, it's something in here that I'm screwing up. Is left is less than or equal to right. Plus the left will give me the 0, because it's only 2 numbers. I actually should be getting 1 here. Maybe this is supposed to be, maybe I'm actually supposed to start this off at 1. Yeah, why am I starting this off at 0? Because 0, but I do need 0, because this could be 0. So I actually do need to start it off at 0. Oh, but yeah, if it's 0, then left would not be less than or equal to right, because then that would be 0, and I would return 0 down here. So this actually would get hit in this case. And so I start this at 1 instead. So I did mess this up, and I didn't try that test case of 1 and 0, which are like kind of those outliers. But now I know that if I put 0 in here, this is going to be lower than 1, and it's going to skip this whole loop and just return 0. And if it's 1, then it's going to be 1, 1. These are going to be equal, but here the middle is going to be 1. 1 times 1 is greater than or equal to 1. 2 times 2 is greater than 1. It's going to return the 1, which is what the answer is going to be. So I think it should work this time. If I run it this time. Yeah, so figure that out. But I'm glad that happened, because I think, those are the kind of things that most interviews I give to other people, you're going to run into something. Even when you think you went through it, you're going to run into some kind of edge case that you have to handle and figure out. And so in that case, if I would have done those test cases, and a smart interviewer would have known that they would say, hey, you're not handling the 0 case, you're not handling the 1 case, or whatever the case. And they would say, hey, run, even if you didn't have something to run the code, they would say, hey, run your code manually with these test cases and make sure it works. And then I would have went through this whole process. So that would have ate up some of my time, though. That's the problem. But, it just depends on how long the interview is, and if this is the only problem you got, and, how much time you got or whatever. So anyway, got all 4 answers there. I only got 2 more things to do, y'all, and then I'll be done. We got to talk about the time complexity. So I'll go ahead and get the space complexity out of the way. Unfortunately, tonight we're not doing anything with space complexity. Like, we're not setting up any data structures like arrays or maps or dictionaries or stacks or any sort of data structures. We're not using any of them in any of these algorithms that I've done tonight. And so the space complexity will always be constant space. Now the time complexity is where it gets interesting. That's where our optimization is coming through by doing a binary search. Like I said, since a binary search, every iteration I make, the iterations that I'm making are what's based on the size of my input. Let's call it n instead of x. You know, big O notation usually uses n. I am looping through, like, while left is less than right, but what's happening is I'm changing left and right as I loop through. Every time, since I'm finding this midpoint, if I have to loop again, I'm cutting it in half by finding the midpoint, and I'm always setting the midpoint to one of these, and I'm cutting my search area in half every time I go through this loop. And so what's happening is I'm actually performing like at logarithmic, having a logarithmic time complexity, because on every iteration at most I'm having to check only half of my input every time. So I cut the middle, I check that side, or I check the middle of the first, and I cut that in half, check the middle, and I cut that half, check the middle. That's actually means I'm only gonna check, I'm not gonna check that many. I'm not gonna check every single one like I did with this one. And so what that does is gives me sort of a logarithmic, I don't even know what to call it, man. Somebody help me out, like what you would call it. I don't think it's not n divided by 2. It's logarithmic, so it's like the opposite of exponential. So it's not necessarily n divided by 2. What it's actually should be is, I think, log n. I don't even know how to spell. How you spell logarithmic? I don't even know how to spell this. Something like that. That's somehow you spell it. But yeah, so it's actually, and it's really hard to explain, but that's something you would just study with big O notation. And basically what it's basically saying is that I'm like, how can you explain? You really can't explain it except with the word logarithmic. Like, it's hard to explain, but it's like, it's the reverse of exponential. It's like for each one I check, it's like I'm having less and less. I'm shortening the window, and I'm having less area that I possibly can cover. So I really get down to finding my and it's not even about the area you're covering. It's about how many times you have to check. And since I'm only checking the midpoint, and then I check the midpoint of the midpoint, and then I check the midpoint of that midpoint, it's like I'm not having to check every single thing. I'm just checking these midpoints, but I'm soon going to get down very quickly at a logarithmic rate until where I can't check anymore. And so I actually check I don't have to check every single, I'm not checking every single n, I guess, if that makes sense. And so that's what it is. I would study up on that if I didn't explain it well. It's actually kind of hard to explain, but yeah, that's what it is, and that's very good time complexity. So if I look at like a time complexity chart, this might make more sense because I suck at explaining the logarithmic one. So you see here, where we were at earlier was big O of n, which is linear, which is in the yellow. It's fair. It's okay. It's usually acceptable in interviews. But there was a better solution here down in the light green, which is good, which is log in. And so that means actually I didn't even have to check every single character. I didn't even have to check every single character. I was checking, I wouldn't even say, or maybe, I mean, it may be half the characters. I think it's less than half though. I wouldn't be even checking half. I'm not checking half of them. I'm just checking the midpoint, then another midpoint, then another midpoint until I find it. And by only checking those midpoints, it's not even half. It's going down by half every time. So the first time I'm splitting it in half, but I'm still not checking half of them. I'm just checking the middle one. And then I'm checking the next middle one. I'm checking the next middle one. So I'm not nearly checking every single result. I'm just checking these midpoints. And so that's considered like a logarithmic rate at which the algorithm is having to run based on how long this n gets. It doesn't matter because I'm still, even if this was 1,000,000, I would check in the middle and I would check the number that's in between the five. I wouldn't check the 5,000. I wouldn't check the 5,000 on the other side. I would just the 500,000 on the other side. I would just be checking the middle. And so it's hard to explain, but yeah, that's kind of where it's at. And yeah, if you haven't seen this before, n squared is considered bad. I think this is quadratic. 2 to the nth power, that's exponential. And then like n factorial, which is like terrible, even worse. But if you can get down to n log n, which is basically n plus or like times log n. So if you had a logarithmic solution, if you had to do a binary search on top of searching every single character, you would get n log n, n times log n. But if you just had to search every single character, it'll just be linear. And it's like logarithmic if you are able to get log n, which it probably says it down here somewhere. Big O notation. Yeah, so logarithmic time. So I probably spelled that wrong. So yeah, all these constant, logarithmic is next best, linear, pretty typical, quasi-linear. I don't even know how to say quasi-linear. It's like a mix between quadratic. No, it's not. What is this? It's a mix between logarithmic and linear. Why is it called quasi-linear? I would just call it as n log n. I would probably never say quasi-linear. But quadratic time, n squared, I say that a lot, and exponential. Typically, I'm not even doing a lot of problems with factorial time, so I haven't had much experience with that. But anyway, that's where we're at with that one. And yeah, this is the problem. And the last thing I have to do, so I got this. Last thing I have to do is run it against all the LeetCode submissions and see if it works. Hopefully, it passes all the test cases. Yeah, because I did not feel like doing anything else to this problem. So passed all 1,019 cases. It says it beats 100% in runtime, which I doubt. 90%. Like, I mean, it's good, but it ain't that good. It's probably just lying. Shoot. See, I can only check one per day, so I can't even check that. But I can use ChatGPT again. What do y'all think about ChatGPT 5? Have y'all had good experience with it, bad experience with it? Heard a lot of people had a lot of bad experience. I just made a video about it a couple of days ago. People had bad experience with ChatGPT 5. Give me the time complexity. Yep, so your square function, your my Sqrt function is using, why did it do that? The heck? Where? It just jumped up crazy. All right, so it says your my Sqrt function is using binary search, so the time complexity is big O of log n or big O of log x, but you can replace the x with n. Yeah, and it says give me the reason why. Also, yeah, this will maybe be better than I can explain it because I was not explaining it well. So it says in each iteration you cut the search range left and right roughly in half. So I at least said that, right? So I said that halving repeatedly gives a number of steps proportional to log 2x. See, I don't know about math, so I don't even know what the heck that means. I don't know what that means. I just know this. I just know you're cutting the search range in half, but it gives you a number of steps, log 2x. This is some kind of math thing that I can't really explain. I know what's happening though. I know that it's not many steps that I'm having to take because of I'm cutting the search in half. The constant time work per iteration, mid calculation comparisons does not change asymptotic complexity. And so yeah, that was what I was talking about earlier about any of the constant work sort of not counting in the big O notation. It sort of gets reduced, or how they describe it is it just does not change that asymptotic complexity, which I like the way I explain it better. And then space complexity is, yeah, only a few integer variables regardless of the input size. There's no data structure I'm using in relation to the input size. And oh, it says I got some stuff wrong. This could lead to an infinite loop if left or right mid don't change. So that the range shrinks every time. Oh yeah, I guess. I don't know, but it passed 100 test cases, so that seems kind of. Maybe this is more optimal code, but I don't know. That seems kind of weird that it would pass all those test cases and not work. Be something wrong with it, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, chat GPT for you. So yeah. Alright, so yeah, man, that's the problem. This was the old brute force. So what I did tonight, for people that just joined, I know there was a lot. I solved this problem that's up at the top of the screen called Sqrt X, or square root X, whatever you want to call it. Sqrt X function. Created a function that gave you the square root, rounded down to the nearest integer of whatever X that you pass into it. First I started with a brute force solution, which was linear in time complexity, by just looping through, finding the square, checking if the square was greater than or equal to. If it was equal to, then I returned the I. If it was not, then I just returned the one before it, because I've jumped over, so I just jumped back to the one that was less than. And then here, to optimize the solution, I actually used binary search. Opened up a search window, looped through the search window, searched the middle of the search window, and then just did the similar type of check, or similar type of check here to see if I had the right one that I was looking for by kind of looking on both sides of the target number. And I would return it if so. If not, then I would just basically close my search window in half on each side, depending on whether I was on the right side of it or the left side of it. And so that gives me sort of it definitely gives me a faster time complexity, or a better time complexity. That's logarithmic. So yeah, that's the problem and solution. If anybody has any questions, let me know. I'm gonna try to answer some questions in the chats and everything. For a little while, some general questions, so you can ask like whatever you want about programming or tech or about this problem. And while people are still on here, I'll still answer some questions. I'll read through the comments. I know I ignored the comments, but man, it's hard. I can't read the comments and do this. Like, this stuff is hard to kind of stay focused on while you're trying to read comments. So I tried to read some earlier, but once you get in the weeds of it, it's a little bit tough. Quintessential said, thanks, this is beautiful, my brother. I appreciate you watching and just appreciating doing this, because it does help me be motivated to get on here and do these, because it's not easy. The easiest thing to just get on here and do these and kind of like struggle and make mistakes and stuff in front of everybody. But I mean, it's better to do it here than in the interview, and it sort of gives me practice. So would you like a clever simplification to what you had? Yeah, I mean, sure. If you smoke KD, if you wanna explain it in a comment, then maybe I can understand it for sure. Go ahead, man. I'm sure there's definitely optimization that can be made to this. I mean, this is just binary search. I think you may be able to do like some bit manipulation or something, maybe, to do better than this. Somebody asked, what does return 0 mean? So in the case that, so in my constraints, that's what I messed up on earlier. My constraints, x can actually be 0. And so if x is 0, then I'm gonna put x gonna come in at 0 here. It's gonna set right equal to 0. Left will then not be less than or equal to right, because left will be 1 and right will be 0. And I actually skip this whole loop, and then I'll go here and return 0, which is the answer, because the square root of 0 is just 0. So that's actually my edge case that I'm handling with this return 0. So it actually does get hit. In this problem, I don't think it ever gets hit. And I mean, in this solution, this brute force solution. But in this one, it gets hit in one single case when x equals 0. So that's a great question. Somebody said, I have no idea how to get it reinstalled on my comp so it doesn't blow in half. Or you're trying to reinstall Microsoft Visual Studio 2017? Why are you trying to reinstall 17? They don't have anything newer than that now? I haven't used Microsoft Visual Studio in a long time. Except the one on Mac, which that might be 2017. I don't know. But yeah, I use Visual Studio. Are you trying to use Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio where you use like C# in it? You're working on a project. Yeah, let me know what you're working on. I like your black person accent. All right, appreciate it, man. I guess I don't even know what that means. We appreciate it. You could be if we want to stick to binary search. You could, but if we want to stick to binary search. Oh, you're typing up a solution, a different solution. Keep it up, brother. You're doing good. Appreciate that. WNTN. Appreciate that, man. Miss West Place said, struggle indeed. Yeah, man. I ain't ashamed, man. These problems are hard. Like I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with this. Like I've been doing these for some years now. I've been in the industry for about 12 years, but I didn't start doing these to probably like the last 5 years to try to get certain types of jobs. A lot of the big tech companies lean more toward these types of questions, but some of the mid to small level companies copy them and they do the types of questions too. And so early in my career, I just didn't do interviews that needed these types of questions. But later in my career, as I wanted to try to get to more better roles and get some bigger company type money and, compensation, you got to start, or I had to start doing these types of interviews and practicing these kind of problems. So eventually it seemed insurmountable, like to be honest with you, when I started out, because these questions are so trivia style and just confusing. But once you practice and learn the fundamentals of it, like, it gets a lot easier. And so I started doing interviews. Of course, I failed a lot of interviews, but I passed a lot of interviews too, and eventually passed some really big company interviews with these kind of problems. I was really proud of myself once I got to that level, and got some really nice offers and everything, and really nice opportunities. So yeah, right now I'm working as a principal software engineer at a mid-level or mid-sized company, size tech company. Really liking it because I got a lot more impact there than I would have at a bigger company, but it's not too small. It's not like a startup, so I don't have to worry about some of the startup things and like not having enough people and just working like a dog. But also, I'm not like at a huge company where sometimes your value, it can be harder to like all the hard problems are already solved, and so like it's kind of hard to like push value at some of these bigger company roles. Not all the time, but sometimes it's easy to get into that space with those big companies. So please do keep doing these coding lives. They're inspiring to many kids. Hey, I appreciate that. That's the kind of motivation I need to do these. What days do you stream? Oh, that's my brother, man. What's going on? It's like my real brother. What's up, Josh? I try to do 1 day a week, man. Try to do 1 day a week. Usually I do Fridays, but like if I get lazy on Friday, that's why I'm doing like Tuesday, because I got lazy on last Friday. I was supposed to do it, didn't do it Saturday, didn't do it Sunday, and didn't do it yesterday, so I'm doing it Tuesday. So I'll probably do it on Friday, probably. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'll see you this weekend, Josh. I'm glad you jumped on here. I'm trying to do them more often, man. I'm trying to do them more often. I'm probably gonna move up to about 2 days a week. I hope one day, and maybe I'll just do Q&A one day like this, and then do like a coding challenge on the next day. Do you network with people? Yeah, mostly through like I go to this conference called Render ATL. It's called Render ATL, and I met a lot of people there, and like I do a lot of networking through that conference. It's about the only one I go to right now, and mostly like on social media. Like a lot of people I met on social media over the last like 5 years by just posting social media content or posting coding content on social media. So I post tech content, coding content, and I just met a lot of people through that. I even got like some interviews through my content. So content ain't useless. Like I don't have a lot of followers and I don't get like a bunch of likes or nothing like that. But people be watching. They might not like and they might not share and all that, but they be watching like for real. Like I got like a big Microsoft interview, and the guy just looked at my social media. He was like, "Well, you're doing coding challenges on your social media, so I'm not even gonna ask you coding challenges in an interview." And I was like, "That's crazy that I skipped the coding challenge interview," because he felt weird asking me coding challenge questions because he sat there and watched like 2 or 3 of my videos that were explaining coding challenges. So he was like, "Why would I ask you coding challenges if in your spare time you posting videos about coding challenges? It doesn't make sense." Now that don't always happen. I just got lucky that time. But that's Microsoft, you know what I'm saying? Like you really don't get any bigger. I mean, you can. I mean, it's only like a couple companies that are bigger than that. And so for me to get a Microsoft interview off of my content, tell me all I need to know about the content. Whether I ever like blow up big or not, that's really all I need to know. And then at the same time, I'm on here practicing. And so anyway, it's a good question. Let me see if I see anything. I know I be kind of ignoring YouTube because it's so many people on TikTok, so I always like ignore other channels sometimes. But yeah, Quintessential, appreciate you asking what's my schedule. I think I just told you the schedule. I'm gonna try to be on here every Friday because I keep messing days up now, but I'm gonna try to get on here every Friday. And then I'll probably pick another day during the week, and I'll let y'all know what day I choose. And I'm probably going to start posting my schedule. So if you want to keep up with me, just follow me on whatever channel you're watching on. I'm actually on all the channels streaming at the same time, so you don't have to watch me on here. You can watch me on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and X, Twitter. You can watch me there too. And I always miss my people on Twitter because I don't think I can read the comments from Twitter. So I appreciate y'all on Twitter. I think it's like 15 people on there. So I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring y'all. I love y'all, man. I'm glad y'all watching. Like a lot of my tech friends are on Twitter for sure. So anyway, what is Unity? So I think you might be talking about Unity, the cross platform game development framework that uses C# as the core language. Somebody was on the stream last time. Definitely want to if you want to get into game development, Unity is a great place to start because C# is a very nice language. It's a little bit verbose. It's not as fun to use as Python. May not be as popular as Python right now and JavaScript and all that, but it's a great language, a great strongly typed, object-oriented programming language. To me, it's a little bit less verbose than Java. Really nice language to use, very solid language to do game development in. And Unity is a framework around that language that helps you build games across different platforms, like mobile app games. I don't know if you can build console games, probably, but definitely like desktop games. And it's a framework that kind of helps you get into game development. I haven't done game development before. I do want to start, and if I do, it's going to be through Unity because I do know C# programming language. So, Master Shinobi, what's up, man? That's my boy too. That's somebody I network with at the conferences too, and we definitely need to link up again soon. Would you do binary search recursively or iteratively? Which would be better? I would say iteratively for binary search. Just do like I did here. Like this is actually, if you search up like a template for binary search, it's gonna look very similar to this. Like some of the differences will be like the logic I have here for when I decide to get my answer, return my answer, when I decide to cut off the left side or when I decide to cut off the right side will be different as far as the if statements. And maybe how I calculate the mid is probably different than most people do it, but I like the way I do it. But this is a template. Like the template would look very similar to this. So like if I even searched on ChatGPT, like binary search template in JavaScript and Python, since everybody loves Python so much. So yeah, so like, I mean, this is very, so you remember I had this if statement and I had this thing where I moved the left and the right. And yeah, I probably should have did the -1 and the +1. I think they were right about that. I think I probably should. It didn't hurt me in my problem, but that's the template. So I think they know what they were talking about when they told me to do that earlier. But yeah, this looks exactly like what I wrote. Or not exactly, but very similar. Like remember I did this mid thing using the math floor. And I did the left over right, and I set the left in the equal to right and all that stuff. Like I did all that stuff. Oh no, this is why they do this. I just said do the template. Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying by like, and this is even in Python. It looks very similar. Python's a different language. It's a lot less verbose, a lot more human readable. But I mean, it's the same structure. It's a similar structure to what I had to do. You have to find the mid, and then you got to do these conditions to find out when you're gonna update the mid. So yeah, so even the Python one's a little bit different actually of how you return the answer. But yeah, so why I say that is because, or why that's important. Is when you start to study these problems, you don't want to just do a bunch of problems. Like that's kind of the trap with LeetCode.com. LeetCode.com, where's the title? Yeah, LeetCode.com is where you can do a lot of these problems at. LeetCode will kind of trick you into just wanting to do like 3,000 problems, but you really want to start to learn the patterns. First you want to start by learning data structures and algorithms. What are the different types of data structures? Arrays, trees, maps, graphs, stacks, queues, all these different types of data structures. You want to learn what those are in your programming language that you use and how to write those. You want to get comfortable, memorize how to implement these data structures at a simple state or a simple level. And then you want to start to study algorithms. So some algorithms you're going to write from you're just going to create them custom, like from memory, not memory, but you're going to create them for the problem. Some algorithms like binary search are ones that you should know and have memorized. And there's not many of them. There's probably like, for interviews, you probably need to remember like maybe 7 to 10 of them. Like you don't need to remember every algorithm that some brainiac ever created, but you need to be able to memorize the important ones like binary search, depth first search, breadth first search, quick search. There's a few different types of searches that you want to, or algorithms that you want to memorize. You want to just have the template that I showed on ChatGPT. You want to have that memorized, and not just the template, but you want to memorize how to do the algorithm. And the template are kind of, if you're a visual learner like me, I kind of like have it like, it's like in my mind, you know, I can kind of like picture it, but I also know how it works too. So if I ever kind of forget how it looks, I kind of can just go from my mind of like knowing what I'm doing with binary search. And somebody asked, what's a template? A template is like, it's not nothing special. It's not, I'm probably over explaining it, but what I used that got me really good at coding interviews is called Algo Monster. And I don't know why why does it keep going into this screen? But it's called Algo Monster. You can see it here, Algo Monster. And what Algo Monster does is it teaches you by the patterns. It teaches you pattern recognition. And I explain, if you watch me before, you know I explain this every time I get on the live. Algo Monster, because I just can't push it enough. It helped me a lot because it looks at the different patterns that are in the problems and gives you the algorithms that lend themselves to most of the problems you'll see. So instead of trying to memorize 1,000 problem solutions, if you memorize like probably 10 of these different patterns, two-pointer algorithm, you learn about heaps, you learn about graph, you learn about dynamic programming. Like I mentioned earlier, depth first search, breadth first search, like we just did today down here, binary search. This graph is giving you the ROI on how to maximize which ones should you learn first, which ones show up in interviews more, return on investment. These are the ones that show up in interviews more. Two-pointer sliding window algorithm. It's a technique and an algorithm kind of mixed together. Breadth first search, depth first search, backtracking, heap, binary search, the one we just talked about. It's easy to learn, but medium investment, meaning it doesn't show up as much as some of these ones up here do. And so that's why I like Algo Monster. And what I'm talking about with the templates, I'm calling it templates because here it said they have templates. And it's not, it's just code, like binary search that we just did. The reason I know how to do binary search from memory is because I know the template. I know how to do a basic binary search. Like if I learned this in school, this is what they taught us. I did computer science in college. I got a computer science bachelor's degree. They taught us how to do a binary search in school. Now, did I know like years later I'd be using it in a coding interview? No, I didn't think so. I don't use it on the job, but binary search is a mechanism. I might have to use it on the job one day. It's not that it won't never be used. Like it's possible that I'll have to write some code that makes use of it. But it's a quick way to search the upper or lower bounds of some sort of data set, where you kind of know, where you're able to cut a search set in half and check whether or not something is, check some sort of condition to know what side of the solution that you're on, and help you find wherever that solution is, for better lack of explaining. But in here, like there's depth first search. It basically gives you an algorithm. And so what will happen is these different templates, out of all the 1,000, 3,000 problems on LeetCode, most of those problems are going to use, at least to some degree, one of these templates. And so what Algo Monster does is they teach you these templates, the foundational stuff first, how to use these templates in simple problems, and then they keep reinforcing it. And then by the time you go back to LeetCode, you're like, oh yeah, I can use depth first search for this. Oh, I see this problem, I can use this for this. And so by the time you get good enough, you'll be able to do pattern recognition. And what Algo Monster has here is sort of a pattern recognition chart. And it basically, certain problems, the way they read, they actually lend themselves to certain patterns. And you'll be able to recognize when you need to use depth first search or topological sort or Dijkstra's algorithm. Like some of this stuff it's gonna sound crazy right now. Like it sounds like a lot, but you don't need to learn every single one of these types of things either. What you need to do is don't get overwhelmed by learning everything. Start with this chart here and learn the most valuable first. If you just go and learn these first 5, you probably can get a junior level programming job if you just learn these first 5 in the green. So you don't even have to learn all. Like you could get caught with one of these, but once you start to get in this area, it starts to be more for like mid-level to senior engineers that get asked this type of stuff. Is it possible that you'll get one? Yeah, but it's rare. And so what they're saying, they're betting on the more of the chance that you're going to get one of these top 5. And so if you did 10 interviews, you more often than not get problems out of this first 5 than you would out of these bottom 5. And so it makes it a lot easier when you come on here and say, okay, all I need to do is learn these first 5 to get started. And once you learn these first 5, these rest of these start to get easier to learn. And so, you know, Algo Monster really helped me, man. That's why I know I kind of push them a lot every time I get on here, but that's the reason why. And I know I kind of went off on a long tangent there, but yeah. How much is it? That's a good question. I paid for lifetime access, and the crazy part is I got a job from this job, multiple job offers from this. I only got 35% of the way through it, and I still learned enough to start getting jobs. Where is the cost though? I don't know. Cause I already paid for it, so oh shoot, man, this thing got kind of expensive. I did not pay that much money. It's went up for sure. So lifetime, they're saying it's $490, $459. They kind of got expensive, man. I'm not even gonna lie, but it's $10 a month, which isn't bad, or $119 a year, which isn't bad. So this ain't bad, but I did not pay that much money. I paid for lifetime access, I think, or did I? I don't know. I feel like I paid, or maybe I just paid for a year. I feel like I paid like $100 though. So if this really went up to $490, $459, that's crazy. Over a typical 30. All right, man. They tripping with that, but now I want to look and see. I don't want to show y'all that. I want to see what I want to see if like my credit card or something's in there. I don't want to show y'all that, but I do want to see. Yeah, I got a lifetime membership. It says lifetime membership, but I did not pay that much money. I promise you. Cause that was some sticker shock. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it to be $450. I've been like promoting it. That is a little high for the lifetime. So I wouldn't recommend getting the lifetime. Honestly, I would just pay the $199, get it for a year, and then or just pay the monthly and just use it for the time that you need it. You know, $30, 3 months. It's worth it. It's definitely worth that. Or $199 a year is worth that. $10 a month is worth that. For $459 before, I wouldn't pay for that unless you really fall in love with it and you just know you're gonna use it all the time. Like, it's just too much to pay at one time to me. But yeah. So I guess I got grandfathered in because I bought it probably like 3-4 years ago, the lifetime. Or maybe I caught some kind of deal or something. I might have caught some kind of deal and just went ahead and I don't know. Who knows? It might have like some kind of $100, $200 deal or something. But it's been worth it. So yeah, I know I spent a lot of time on that. Is it too late to start LeetCode and prepare for this internship applying season? I wouldn't say so. I mean, I don't know what the internship applying season, when that is though. I mean, I just think companies, wouldn't they be hiring interns all the way around the year? Or is it like stuck in a year? Is it like starting at the Q1, like the start of the year and going through the end? Or I feel like they hire interns just whenever they want to hire them. So I don't think it's too late. You start now, you know, like start as soon as possible for sure. That's a good question though. One important thing to add is do mock interviews. Yes, performance under pressure. Man, that's a really good point. It's a really good point that that's why I do these on here, because it's not the same as doing a mock interview. It's not the same as doing a real interview, of course not. But it does add some pressure when I got people watching and I got to explain myself to, you know, sometimes it's like 50 people on there or something. I don't know. Having to explain myself, people saying stuff in the comments. Sometimes they saying strange stuff. Sometimes they saying distracting stuff. And it just helps my mind stay focused and not stay focused on the problem and not get frazzled. Because I've interviewed like hundreds of people myself, and it's like I can tell when somebody, they seem like they got it, they could do the problem, but man, anxiety is real, man. You getting these interviews. I seen a dude turn bloodshot red. He was so good before that, and as soon as I said, "Hey man, I got a coding challenge for you, dude," he just turned bloodshot red. He couldn't talk, he couldn't speak, he couldn't think. And if you can't get over that, it don't matter how good you get. If that anxiety gets to you get so nervous you can't perform, like as far as like think and focus and all that stuff, then so you gotta get used. Like this guy said, Sam on TikTok, appreciate it. You gotta be able to do these coding challenges under pressure, and it's tough because it's time pressure and it's just anxiety of this person just watching you code and like judging you or whatever. You won't interview me live though. Whittington, you want to do a live interview? I mean, shoot. I mean, I don't really usually do that, but I mean, we could do something like that. That, I mean, like a lead code type thing, or just a general interview, or I could just take the interview I use for work, or I could just adapt it. I probably can't use the exact same one, but I could just adapt the one I use for work. And yeah, man, only if I can interview you back. All right. Let's talk about it, man. I don't know if I want to get interviewed by you. I know how you do, man. I know how you do. I know your vibes, man. I don't know if I want the problem from you. I don't even know if I want to be an interview with you, man. I would be so unlucky to get you as an interview. If I got in an interview and you was on the other side, I don't know, man. I don't know what I would do, man. Y'all go follow Whittington, man. He's funny. He's in tech too. He does programmer, just does a lot of good content, funny content, programming tech content, like just general content. Like he's cool, but yeah, he a trip though too. So you if you go see his content, you're gonna see why I ain't trying to get no interview with him. Have you started AI pair programming yet? Yeah, I mean, of course, like at this day and age, like even at work on my personal projects, like of course I've started adopting using like agentic AI chat, AI IDEs, like integrated into the IDEs. I posted some content about it. I haven't really like went crazy on the content about it yet, but yeah, basically I've integrated into my developer experience. Now, do I just like vibe code all the time and just let the thing just do the code for me all the time? No. I still think that, and it's going to sound like conceited or whatever, but I still think that I write better code, and it's not like trying to think that I'm so good or whatever. My code still has bugs and issues in it, but I just like the way that I write code better. And so a lot of times what I'll do, even if I let the AI write the code initially, I still review the code, because as programmers and software engineers, over the course of your career, over the course of the years, you're going to read more code than you write anyway. And so I usually just let it write the code initially, review it, or I ask it to write me some sort of code, review it. If some things I can go in there and just fix myself faster. So in certain cases, I'm still writing code. Like if I see that, I don't like this, I'll just go in there and fix it myself. Because sometimes it's faster for me to fix it than to try to explain to it how to fix it, every single little detail, as good as I want it to be. And then in other cases, it's like I can tell it to fix something and it can just do it, and I just let it do it. So like, it just depends. But, it's getting better and better. Hopefully it keeps growing at a linear plate or I don't know if even hopefully. I still believe that it's not really to a place, or it's not going to get to a place where it just completely puts programmers and software engineers out of a job. Because software engineering is more than just coding. Like a lot of software engineering is figuring out how to write less code, like how not to code, how to write something that is maintainable and future proof. And sometimes it just depends. You don't want to overwrite code for future that never will happen, but at the same time you want to try to write resilient code that doesn't have bugs, so you write less code in the future. and you want to write code that's adaptable so that you don't have to make these crazy changes to it in the future. And that's what a lot of programming jobs are about, reading a lot of existing code and then going in and making small changes to it to add a feature or to fix a bug. A lot of what I see people doing with AI now is what's called like greenfield development, where they're building all this new stuff, and the AI is really good at building new stuff, but it's not as good as knowing how to work on existing things that have context that are either context it can't see inside of the project, or worst case, context that it can't see outside of the project itself, like business context and weird business requirements and other services that it integrates with that it doesn't know the nuances of, and then it makes a mistake because it doesn't know, and then and that's on top of the mistakes that it already can make anyway. And so with AI, you get a compounding error problem. That compounding error problem is still an issue, where if you don't know what you're doing and you're just vibe coding, you're letting those errors compound, it can eventually get to a place where it can't help itself out of the errors that you've created, and you don't even know to help it out because you don't even know what's going on. So it's still, I think with programming, it's always been abstractions created. And so, I think that this is just a new level of abstraction that we're like new tooling that software engineers are gonna use. So, and I mean, I know, I see people on there are saying like, hey, I think try Cursor, try Claude, and it's gonna do everything that you're saying it can't do. And I just ain't had that experience, man. I have not had that experience. Like, that's just not what I see. I mean, it can do some really great stuff. It can code a lot for you, but it makes a lot of mistakes too. And even if it has, let's say, a 5% error rate, right? So you just let it. You say you spin up AI agents, fire all the developers, spin up AI agents. Because basically what you're saying is that AI is so good now, like right now, that you can just fire all the developers and just let the AI agents do everything. Even if it has a 5% error rate, right? If it's 95% of the time that it does everything perfectly, but 5% chance that it does stuff wrong, and you don't have someone in place to do something with that 5%, then the errors just keep compounding, and it gets to a point. It's great now while we're building all this new stuff with AI, but once you're working with legacy code, or once even the AI is working with its own legacy code, it can get to a point where it breaks something that it can't fix, that it just doesn't have the context, it just can't fix it. And so that's just my opinion, but I get it. Some people just got different beliefs about it. And, time will tell who's right and who's wrong. So either I'll be, 5-10 years from now, I'll still be on here doing these lives, and for, probably with more AI integrated into my lives and stuff. Or 5-10 years from now, I may not be on here at all. So I'm not naive enough to think that it's not possible. I just personally, don't see that. Did you see my site that I fully vibe coded? I think I saw you when you first started working on it, or was this a while ago? Because I did see you did something like that. Whittington, like, let me know, remind me of what you were doing. I can't remember. I do remember something like that I was watching you do on your channel, on your page or whatever. Yeah. TikTok by Leah. Hey, I know you appreciate you watching the videos and stuff like that. Definitely, yeah, and yours too. Likewise, like, definitely like watching your content as well. So, yeah, I appreciate that. I launched it. It was a fully vibe coded site for financial tools. Okay, yeah, and I mean, I think that's like, we're in a sweet spot right now where like creating greenfield stuff with AI it's like super powerful, especially the greenfield stuff where it can just run. Like, it's I feel like that's the best use case for it. Like that's when it has the least chance of issues, because you're giving it all the context. You know all the context because it's new. There's no context that you don't know about. There's as you see the issue, you're fixing them, but you don't like when there's existing code. There's issues that you don't know about. There's issues that the AI doesn't know about. It's gonna find some issues you don't know about. You're gonna find some issues that it doesn't know about. Will it continuously get better and be able to find more of its own issues? Yes, I do believe that. Will it keep growing at this perfect linear rate? I don't necessarily believe that like most people do. Most people think that like the last 2 years and 3 years of AI advancement we have is going to continue to grow at a linear rate that it has. I don't necessarily believe that, because right now AI is being the AI we're using is based off of like LLMs and pre-trained data. And so once these models get created, they're pretty finite. Like you have GPT-4 or whatever, 4.0, GPT-5, Claude, Sonnet, whatever. The models they're fixed. They're like, they're solid models. Like once they get trained, they're pretty solid. Like they're pretty fixed. The wrappers around them are what's like doing all the changing, like the Claude code interface and Cursor and GitHub Copilot, the ChatGPT interface and tooling around it, like the agentic stuff. Like they build stuff around the LLMs, but the LLMs themselves, once they're trained, they're fixed. That's why you have to switch between the different ones to get different results. And so the LLMs themselves aren't really learning. The tools we're using they're not at like the AGI state, like this, like that OpenAI is saying they're trying to reach. They're trying to reach this AI. Their ultimate goal of OpenAI is to reach AGI. It's like what is it, like artificial general intelligence, where the AI can learn, and it can, as you do stuff to it, it can learn what you're doing and blah 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 blah. And what's happening now, people think it's learning. It's not really learning. It's a trick. It's like it knows it's looking at your previous conversations. It's looking at context that you've given it by plugging in, MCP servers, or the wrapper, like I said, around the LLM is plugged into different things, websites, stuff like that, like it's plugged into your history. And so it's basically creating this sense of having learned you based off your history, but it's not learning on its own as far as like the model itself, like learning from humanity is not learning. It's like they have to go and create another model, pre-train it. And so I say all that to say that I'm not sure if that way of the way they've been developing AI, if they actually can reach the point that they're looking for as fast, as linear as it's been, is what I'm saying. Like, well, I feel like now that we've grabbed the low-hanging fruit, they've scraped the internet of all the data. They're constantly looking for other places to scrape data. The guy from OpenAI just said that he's using AI to create more data to train the LLMs on. Like they're just looking. They've already passed the low hanging fruit, and they're creating data to train on because they don't have enough actual data. They've already hit all the low hanging fruit. So are we going to continue with this model of creating AI? Are we going to continue this linear path of growth? I wouldn't be surprised if we did, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we didn't. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit sort of a tailing off point of where we've got all the low-hanging fruit, and it gets a little bit harder to see the gains that we've seen in the last 2 years. Like if it kind of trails off until we get to a new breakthrough. So that's what I think. But yeah, that's just my opinion. And yeah, I mean, you said I have friends in big tech that haven't written code in months. I mean, it depends on your job. I mean, I mean, I even before AI coding tools, I know programmers that didn't write code in months. Coding's always been more about reading code than writing code, and it's not just about writing code. The software engineering job is, they call you software engine. Most of the jobs are called like SDEs or software development engineers or software, development something. It's never just been. They usually at big tech don't call you a programmer. They call you a software development engineer. So it's always been about using tools, whether you're writing code or not. You're making decisions or whatever. So I mean, I knew code even before these AI stuff came out. People that didn't really code a lot. A lot of especially when you get up to like principal levels, you're not coding much anymore anyway. So yeah, I could see somebody being at Microsoft not coding much, especially with these AI tools, and just letting it run. But just because you're not writing the code doesn't necessarily mean you're not reviewing the code before you ship it to production and not altering the code. So yeah, you may not be typing the actual characters, but if you prompt something and then you see an issue and then you prompt it to fix it again, you're still coding. You're still doing the code. You're just not writing the code yourself. What I'm talking about is just fully automated development teams where there's no human involved, like fully agentic teams, like where you just basically fire your dev team. You have some software development managers and they manage a team of like agentic, agents or whatever, and they're just coding. Yeah, and you're saying it could happen in a few years, maybe. I could see it happening somewhat, but it's expensive too. It's not free, So I mean, even the humans that are using AI tools are hitting limits every day. Claude reduces its limits, so I don't know, man. We still have a resource limit too that we have to deal with. So, I don't know. I mean, I see the optimism, and I'm not saying I don't believe this stuff can happen. I guess I'm just not as, at least with my experience, I'm just not as gung-ho to just throw my hands up and just say, hey, we're all going to get replaced by, AI agents in like 2 years. I'm just not there yet. But yeah, maybe maybe I use more tools and maybe it happens. But I just personally not seeing a human being completely out of the loop. I'm not seeing that yet. But as far as us stopping writing code ourselves, definitely. I definitely see that today, and I can see that in 2 years. Once it gets a little bit better, it's already good enough now. You don't have to write much code. Like I said, like in my workflow, I usually let it write the code first. I review it. Sometimes I prompt it to fix the code if I think I can do it a little bit faster versus writing this long prompt to tell it to do every single thing I want. If I think I could just do something real fast, I'll go in and do it. But a lot of times, yeah, I'm just prompting it to write the code too. So I do believe that AI assisted development roles, I definitely believe that's the future. Heavily AI assisted, or as far as what's writing the code, but what's doing the software development, and as a whole, I still see the AI being used as a tool by humans. Now, will it be less? Yeah, they're not going to hire as many of us at all. Like, I do see that, like, because we're going to be a lot more productive. And even us, we're going to be spinning off AI agents to do work for sure. But it's just hard to see without a human in the flow. But hey, we'll see how to we'll know soon enough for sure. What's the best way to apply, attract recruiters, or get called back on a job application? I don't like LinkedIn and want to find another way to branch out. Attracting recruiters. You don't like LinkedIn. No, this is not a rerun. I'm sorry. I see you. Guitar James, my bad. I'm just talking, man. I just keep missing the comments, but I would maybe change your mindset on LinkedIn. It's kind of tough to ignore LinkedIn for jobs at this point, even though it can be cringy, the messages and stuff on there and all that stuff. But I would maybe rethink LinkedIn a little bit. But if you want to find other ways to reach out to attract recruiters, I mean, one thing is getting active on social media, on like Twitter. If you don't like posting content, getting active on Twitter is a lot, can do a lot for you. I've seen a lot of people get active on Twitter and get into the spaces on there and the groups on there, get in the tech communities on there. Go to meetups, go to where jobs have like open houses and stuff like that. Go to tech conferences. That's probably, if you want to avoid LinkedIn, that's probably one of the best ways. Get on blind.com, go on there and ask for referrals. There's tech people on there, recruiters. You ask for referrals. When you put it in, your resume will get pushed up a little farther if you can get a referral from somebody on like Blind. People just give literally blind referrals on there. If you don't know what Blind is, it's like an anonymous job site where nobody knows who you are, but you have to put your job email in there so that they at least know you're from the company, or at least you were at the company one day when you signed up for your account. So yeah. Crazy. I've been focused on DP and search trees. I mean, yeah, that's for if you're going for like a mid to senior level role, dynamic programming and doing trees is pretty important. I mean, even for junior roles, learning like trees especially is probably super important. What do you think about breaking into tech with COBOL? I don't know much about that, man. I mean, I'm sure there's jobs out there for it. There's probably some legacy code out there for it, but I don't know. I don't know much about it because I haven't used that language before. But if you're interested in it, I would definitely just do your research. Look up to see what the market looks like for those for companies using that. If there's companies still using it, then there's always a market for it. And especially if there's not a lot of developers that know it. It could be a niche. A niche. I'm sorry, that you can use. So take advantage of. At the moment, I'm using I'm using Gemini CLI to build my portfolio website to test it. Yeah, so I mean, I just think now you have to be using AI. Like, you have to be. So don't get me wrong as far as like my reservations about AI or whatever. It's not really like you have to be using it. Like, if you're not using it, you're getting beat out by somebody that's using it. So at work, on your personal life, you have to be using it. What I will say is that I just think you need to be developing some technical skills in some aspect. So I also would recommend that you also learn from what the AI is doing, at least to some degree. You don't need to know every line of code that it's writing, but at least at a high level, know what it's technically trying to do. So that when issues arise, when you need to explain something, when you need to pivot technologies, or for whatever reason, when some external factor comes in, that a bug or the tech that the AI is using has gotten deprecated or something, the AI might decide to use View 3 or View 2, and then View 2 might get deprecated, and now it's like you tell the AI to upgrade to it. You have to tell it to do it though. Like, it won't know to do it. In some cases, I mean, even when it's agentic, you still have to somebody has to give it instructions. It's not fully autonomous, in the sense of like it just can run without no instructions. So, but you gotta be able to prompt it well. Like, you have to, like, prompt engineering is its own thing. So that's all I'm saying is, like, it's easy to say we're just gonna get rid of all the developers, but when you work day to day in a job, like, all the issues that come up and the decisions you have to make, it's not just these binary, just like A, B, C, D decisions that you make. Like, you make a lot of decisions based off of experience and stuff like that. And Sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right, and those decisions are often different than the actual implementation, which the AI has taken over now and will likely take over more in the future. So yeah, do you think it's an oversupply of React and Node developers? I think it's probably the market's just bad right now. I don't think it's an oversupply of developers at all. I don't, because I don't think there's too many developers. I think the market is very rough right now, and so there's too many developers for the market. But I think as AI comes along, I think it's gonna actually create more software engineers. And I'm not saying necessarily more coders, but more people that know how to use AI. And know technology, know how technology works together, knows at a high level of that. But as far as like Node and React, I don't think it's too many. I mean, I think it's still, what I would say, I wouldn't let the market news or the AI news discourage you from learning some skill, learning a language, or learning a technology, or learning a framework. I mean, because I just don't understand. How can I say this? What are we supposed to do, right? Like, so let's say that AI is coming, right? It's gonna take over everything. We're not gonna have jobs. So what? So then what? You know what I mean? Like, then what? I see a lot of comments saying that, like, we're done, like we're not gonna. So what's the solution? What are we gonna do? That's what I don't see anybody saying. Like, what are we? We're just done. Like, I don't know. And it's just a tough. I know it's a tough question to answer. I know, like somebody just said, Demetrius, corporations don't care if we ain't have anything to do. Somebody said the wealth gap will increase. Like, I mean, but what are we gonna do? Like, because if it is totally doom and gloom, like, so one option is just to say, just stop learning anything. Like, don't learn the code because the AI is gonna do it. Don't learn React because the AI is gonna do it. Don't even learn to use AI because the AI is going to be completely autonomous. So why are you even learning to prompt? Like, don't even learn how to prompt AI, because why would you need to prompt an AI that's completely, self-aware or completely autonomous? You're not even going to be the one prompting it. So, I mean, that can go so far that it comes to the point that what are we going to do? Are we just going to be living on, I mean, I know I've heard the people come out and say we're going to live on, universal income and all that stuff. That sounds a little bit far-fetched, man. It sounds like a movie, man. You know what I mean? I get it's real, but if these people don't care about us having a job, man, I just don't see them caring about us having some universal income. I don't see them like saying, hey, we're gonna just set up, like, I just don't see none of that. Like, if they really don't care, then they just don't care. They're not gonna care about this, but then we care a lot about that. Like, they just don't care at all. So I guess what I'm saying is that if it is really all doom and gloom, and we're just gonna kind of throw up our hands and just be like, we're just gonna stop learning stuff, then I mean, I just don't know how to respond to that, really. I mean, it's because I just can't do that. I just can't just be like, do nothing. You know what I mean? Because no one's giving any answers. Everybody has the answer about what's gonna happen, but nobody got an answer about like what to do with it. You know what I mean? And yeah, somebody came in and said, hey, we could just move to other industries. We can just start driving trucks, or we can be a plumber, be a roofer, start working in a factory. That's not gonna work either. Like, go Google Amazon factories automation and bots. Like, they're already replacing their workforce with bots. So once you get robotics in the picture, combine AI with robotics, then no job is really safe. if the robot gets good enough and it's smart enough, the robot can do anything a human can do. When you think about it, like you watch, like it's like a movie. That's what we talking about. We talking about this future where we don't have any jobs, and the robots took over everything, and the AI took over everything. So in that future that we're presenting here, right, then the AI is doing the plumbing. The AI and the robots are doing the plumbing. The AI is serving you at driving the trucks. The cars are self-driving. The semi-trucks are self-driving. The waitress at the restaurant is, they already got these little carts that just roll up to you and bring you your food. You know what I mean? What's keeping a robot from cooking something if it's smart enough? You know what I mean? Like, I know we're farther away from that than we are from just simple digital jobs and white collar jobs, but Amazon's replacing a lot of their factories, a lot of their employees at their factories with automation and AI and all kind of stuff. So they're already starting to deliver packages with bots and drones and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just, nothing is really safe if you dig deep enough. It's hard to find a job that's people even using AI for their therapists. So it's like, even these kind of jobs that, like lawyer, like people not even barely wanting to hire lawyers anymore, because you can just go ask AI all these like legal questions for your state, for your region. And so it's like, you almost don't even really, you need a lawyer maybe to defend you in court, but you're so informed now that it's like the barrier to needing to get a lawyer is starting to get higher and higher. So by the time you get a lawyer, you already have gotten so much information, when before it's like, as soon as you got a question, you consult with the lawyer. Like, even with doctors, like, is this doctor that was like y'all might have saw this viral post from this doctor that basically said he's like kind of scared of his patients now, because his patients will literally just pull up ChatGPT right in his face. They'll be like, hey, am I supposed to feel like A, B, and C for this symptom, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, what the percentage of people that have this that actually pass away? And he's like, I don't know. And then they just look it up, and they're just looking at him like he's a fool, when he's like a professional physician, but he's scared because his patients are so empowered now, which is a good thing on one end. But on the other end, if you're the one working the job, you're a little bit scared. So, yeah, man, it's tough, man. I don't know where this thing's gonna go, man. Yeah, and my brother said somebody has to fix the robot. Somebody has to grease and change the oil in the robot. That's my hope for the future. Yeah, I mean, somebody has to. Hopefully, has to be a human somewhere in the process, man. Because otherwise, what we gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, I don't get it. So, every time I get on the live, we end up going to AI, because it's like all converging to that. I start with a programming challenge, and then by the time I end it, it's all AI, and that's just what it is, man. It's like, why? Like, a lot of people, when I first start the live, they're like, why are you even doing this? Because you can just run this through AI, or like the company's not gonna ask anymore. As far as I know, the companies I looked at and the people. So not all companies have adopted. I know Facebook is saying they're changing their interview, or they're considering changing their interview process. But anyway, like, yeah, man, it's just what this future. I guess I won't keep going in on the AI thing, but yeah, it's just tough to, it's not that I don't accept it, but it's like, I just don't understand. I don't understand the mindset of like, we're just not gonna do anything and just giving up. Like, I don't get the give up mindset. Like, we're done. Like, I don't get it. Like, I can't, I don't know. I guess I'm just not that type of person. So I'm just gonna keep learning and keep using AI and just trying to figure out what the future is gonna be, where I fit into it. I guess that's the kind of the summation of like my brother said that jumped on here, like finding my place to where I'm still valuable. But I think the only way you do that is continue to use AI, figure out where the gaps are, I mean, you definitely need to become very good with AI. Start using it in your everyday life. Start using it with your programming, with your whatever your career is, so that you're at least the one that knows how that you're not, you're capable and even can excel at augmenting your job with AI, with whatever your job is. So you want to be the person that's managing the bots or whatever. You don't want to be the person that's getting replaced by them. You want to be the one human that comes to check on them every 3 hours or whatever at the least. Like my brother said, you want to be the one that when the bot fall over and it's glitching, that they got to send a human out there to go check on them. You want to be that person. And so you need to know about the AI or the bots or whatever. Need to know a lot about them. So yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough what it's going to. Yeah, it's get 50 people together, buy a farm, and start being self-sustainable. Yeah, going off the grid, man. That might be the move, man. That might be the only way to get out of this thing. I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough. I don't know where it's going. And I hate to get to the doom and gloom in the live because it's like it goes there every time I get on here with this AI thing. But people are scared. Jobs are getting lost. Companies are laying people off. Like, I get it, man. So my guy that was on here earlier just was talking about like, hey, man, yeah, we're cooked. And, even with the coders, like a lot of them not writing code anymore, even if they're, I'm not writing nearly as much code as I used to. So I admit that, man. It's just, for right now, I'm just going to hope that I'm still needed. I mean, at least right now in my job, it definitely is not possible for AI to do what I do just right now. So maybe in 2 years, maybe it'll be able to do that and it can just completely replace me. Now, is it possible for me to get fired and there be less of us? Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%. Like, it's definitely high chance for that. But as far as it be able to, for them to just be able to completely replace the software engineering workforce with just AI, that's really not. It's just too much. I don't know, man. I don't know. You gotta like talk to some real engineers, man. Like, it's just too complicated, man. Like the problem. I'm just thinking about. I'm working through the stuff that I had to do today, and I used a lot of AI today, but it was also a lot of things that I did that I couldn't use AI for. So it's just, I don't know, man. Now, could one day AI be used for those things? Maybe, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's still a lot of, one thing I didn't talk about, there's still a lot of integration that needs to happen with AI. There's still a lot of tools that it's not connected into. Like, you can't just get on an AI chat that doesn't have any power to do anything and just expect it to take over whole people's jobs. Like, if your AI doesn't have power to deploy, if your AI doesn't have power to call external APIs, the AI, like it has to, and we're starting to build those things, the MCP servers and things like that, but there's still a lot of integration left to be done. And, the AI has to be driven to do those things. It has no reason to do it on its own. And that's my point that I made earlier about it's not yet sentient. It can't learn truly yet in order to just be able to go and say, oh, we need to get this done. Oh, we need to get that done. Oh, it doesn't have intuition to do those things that need to be done to innovate. So you still need somebody there to do that. Now, whether that's a CEO of a company, a software engineering manager, or an actual software engineer, that's to be said, to be discovered or whatever. But yeah, it sucks, man. But hey, man, let's just try to have some optimism that we all gonna have jobs, man. No matter, I know a lot of people on here are probably either interested in tech or in technical fields, and a lot of people maybe aren't. They're doing other things right now, and they're just kind of interested in talking about it. But just hope that we all got something to do and make a living, man. Because because like the route that we went down with this live right now is like, it's basically like it's over for everybody, and I hope not, man. So You know, yeah, it's crazy. I've been asking Claude today about this. It says developer is done and Chat GPT 6 comes out in 2027. That sucks, man. And yeah, I hope I find some. Maybe I'm AI orchestrator or something in the future. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't even call myself a software engineer anymore. And maybe I'm just orchestrating a bunch of AIs, or like micromanaging. Like I just watch what they doing, just making sure they stay on track. If something crashes, I restart it. I manage the cost, like make sure the company's not spending too much money on the AI tools. Manage the cost versus work ratio. I don't know. Maybe my job turns into something else. I hope, but yeah, it's just crazy to think about where it's going. But I will say that, like, I do think it's powerful, but just remember that it's these AI companies' job. That's their business, right? It's their job to oversell this stuff as well. So I'm not saying none of this stuff is not true. I'm not saying that. I know that it's coming and it's going to take stuff and it's going to change everything. I'm not saying that. But I also think that it's wise to also factor in a degree of these companies have investors. They are for-profit businesses for the most part, and they're trying to sell you something, and they're trying to sell these other companies something to take your job away from you in order for them to build their business up. And so at the same time, just like there was Devin AI that said there was this program in AI like 2 years ago that was Devin AI, and it was just so great and we're all done. And it turned out that they manufactured the whole presentation. And I know that was a couple years ago and things are a little bit better now, but what shouldn't by now they be even like Devin should be taking over, and we should be hearing the news about Devin AI is like taking over 200 programming jobs and all this stuff. Like, because AI is way better than it was, linearly grew way more than it was 2-3 years ago. And so, it's also to these companies' benefit to oversell this stuff a little bit. And so, I mean, it is what it is, man. We'll see what happens. It's just everybody got different opinions on what's gonna happen, and only future will tell. And I just hope I have a job, man. That's all I'm saying, man. When it all boils down to it, man, just let me have a job. Let us all have something to do, man. Jesus, like I mean, what else we gonna do? Like, we can't do nothing. Like, I mean, universal income. I don't see how that works. Like, where is the ambition to want to better yourself and do anything with your life? You're gonna be miserable. Like, you will be miserable. It sounds fun not to have a job, but if you don't have any, not having a job and just getting this universal income, that's not. If you have the same money as everybody else, this little bit of money, your life is gonna suck. Because you're not going to be able to get nothing. You're not going to have any ambition to get anything. You're not going to be able to afford anything. Everything's going to be with just out of your reach because everybody's income is going to be flattened. And you're not going to be able, I mean, it's just going to suck. Like, we're not just going to be sitting at home just in a euphoria, like in some kind of utopia. So, I don't know, man. I don't like it. But, yeah, also the AI companies are getting sued for theft. So there's that. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, and it's not determined. So there's a lot of limitations. And there's resources. Like, how much resources, like, there's a reason why Claude and all of them are limiting, they have limits on how much you can use it. Like, you literally can't, like, you can pay for more, but only up to a certain limit. Even the highest paying users, they won't even let them use it more than a certain amount because they don't have the resources to support it. This is just the start. Everybody's not even using AI yet. Companies are not as dependent on it as they will be in the future. And we're already having a resource and problem. So, there's more challenges to tackle than just simply what the AI can even do. So it's I'm kind of talking on both sides of it. Like, it's gonna take everything, and it's still got limitations. I don't know, man. Nobody really know. Everybody can come out and say what they know, but I don't think nobody really know for real what's exactly going to be. Because they said 2 years ago that 2 years from now we wouldn't have any programming jobs. They literally said when ChatGPT first came out, they said in 2 years, not going to be any programming jobs. I remember people saying that. You can go back and find articles. So, is it better now? Yeah, but come on, man. We can't just erase that. Everybody was saying that 2 years ago. We're not just gonna skip over that. ChatGPT been out like years now, so it's not skip over the fact that those first couple months everybody was saying it's the exact same thing that we're saying now. So we'll see where it ends up. But anyway, yeah, we're also in a massive bubble. Yeah, I do think it's an AI bubble for sure. Like it's too many AI companies, man, and not all of them will survive because it's like in this sort of free market or whatever you want to call it, in the economy or whatever. You just can't have that many companies. Too many tools. It's too many little baby AI companies. There's too many big ones. Like all of them are not going to win. Like somebody's going to lose. Just like in any type of thing. Like when the internet came out and all those different browsers came out, all those browsers don't exist anymore. All the internet companies don't exist anymore, and so like eventually something falls off. When you have too many companies. So anyway. I think I'm gonna end it there. I've been on here for 2 hours and 47 minutes, and I talked about AI probably the last hour. So, which is reasonable because this is what the world is coming to now. But the reason I got on here was for coding, which is related, so it makes sense. But yeah, did a coding challenge today. Was successful. Feel like I learned something. Feel like maybe some people learned something. Please follow me on all the different channels. I stream. I'm gonna try to stream every Friday or at least around the weekend. I've been streaming at least once every week. But if you want to know when I'm streaming, follow my channels, turn on the notifications, all that kind of stuff. I stream simultaneously on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and I think that's it. So yeah, I also post coding and tech and AI content on all these channels. So if you want to check that out, you can. Also, if you got questions, follow each other. I've seen a lot of people talking in the chat to each other. Follow each other, if you find people interesting or want to connect with people. But also DM me if you got questions that I couldn't answer. I know I talked for a long time, and then while I was doing the coding challenge, I couldn't answer everything. So just DM me if you got questions. Please feel free to DM me, and I'll answer your questions. I answer every DM, so I get to it eventually, pretty quickly. So just let me know what your thoughts are about this AI thing, or let me know if you got any questions about how you're trying to get into tech. Whether you should get into tech, whether you should get into this, should get into that, or if you just want to ask some general question about something else, I would love to just have a chat with each and every individual that's serious about this stuff. So yeah, man, appreciate it. Guitar Jams, man. Appreciate you watching me on YouTube, man. I appreciate that. Definitely, I hope I see you again. And all the people my brother that jumped on here. My brother Josh, he's a programmer as well, so it's in the family. It was another guy on here that once AGI comes out, these companies won't exist anymore. That's OpenAI goal is to get to AGI, but there's discussion now that they might not reach AGI as soon as we think, as linearly as we think, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because even Sam Altman came out today, came out this week and said that ChatGPT, not this week, whenever they release ChatGPT 5, that, it hasn't reached AGI, and they don't know if this current, like I said earlier, this current model of how they pre-train these LLM models, these fixed LLM models, and build these wrappers around it, if it's really going to it's basically token generation, is able to predict the next token based off these large language models. And unless we have like a breakthrough somewhere, they don't know if we're gonna linearly reach AGI and how long it's actually. It may take a little bit longer than we're thinking. Like everybody thinks it's like the next 2 years, and that may not be the case. We may have a level off for like 5-10 years. I don't know. We don't know. So, but anyway, I'm glad you brought the AGI thing up for sure. Scott said a city block of energy to be a junior dev. I saw this post today where they said it would cost $100,000 a year for a developer to use AI all year at like its maximum. Like they're running AI agents and they're just going crazy with AI. They still got a job, but they're just going crazy with AI. They could see a case where like one engineer would cost the company $100,000 just for that single engineer to use AI the whole year. So imagine if you just got an AI agent running 24/7, you issuing commands to it, how much that would actually cost. Once you're talking about 50, 100 agents, however many agents that the company, before they set the limits on you of how much you can use, it's not free. You know what I'm saying? It's not free. It costs resources, energy, electricity, money, companies' money. Like it's not just free. So like it's a logistical issue. It's not just like, hey, let's fire everybody and then we can just use this free AI tools. Like it's free to any Joe Smo that just download ChatGPT and run a couple of queries. But when you're talking about serious development where the AI has to look at the context of like 100,000 lines of code and use a lot of tokens, it costs a lot. It costs a lot more to do that type of stuff. So, anyway, yeah, man, I appreciate y'all jumping on here, watching the live, watching me do some coding stuff, watching me talk about AI. I might just jump on here next time and just do a Q&A midweek, and we just talk about AI and programming and tech and where we think it's going, like the whole time, instead of doing the coding challenge first. Because this time I did a coding challenge, and now I've been on here 3 hours because I did the Q&A after. So, but anyway, appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all a lot for just hanging in there with me. Everybody that commented, everybody that went back and forth with me, because we need that. It was my guy on here earlier that went back and forth with me. Donut, appreciate you. Demetrius Sullivan, appreciate you, all your comments for sure, man. But yeah, please follow, subscribe, all that stuff. DM me if you need to. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next live. Like, I really appreciate it.